There we go.
Second here. I'll pull up the agenda. Un momento here. Here we go. Okay. Welcome, folks. Sorry we're late. We've been in closed session since 4:30. So I'd like to reconvene and call for a roll call. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Nierenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Horvath.
Here.
Councilmember Grand.
Here.
Councilmember MD.
Here.
Mayor Brand.
Here. Joe, do we have any announcements from closed session?
The only announcement is that we did not come for the closed sessions. They will be scheduled on a meeting next week. Closed sessions 1, 2, 5, and 7. We did not complete. The other ones you completed. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to a regular meeting.
Motion to adjourn to your meeting. Second.
Okay, I think there's a motion by Councilmember Nierenheim, seconded by Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yes.
So, any objections? Okay, so order. Now I'd like to call to order our regular meeting of the City Council. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Nierenheim.
Here.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Horvath.
Here.
Councilmember Grand.
Here.
Councilmember MD.
Here.
Mayor Brand.
Here. Do we have a flag, Eleanor, anywhere?
There it is.
Yeah, where is it? Is it up there?
Yep.
There it is.
There's a little delay, but there.
Let's all rise and salute the flag. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Take a moment of silence, but I didn't tell everybody we were going to do that, so we'll move on. Why don't we do presentations or announcements? How about announcements? We don't have any presentations tonight. Councilmember Nierenheim, do you have any announcements to make?
I have no announcements. I'm good, thank you.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yeah, just that the District 2 community meeting for December will be sometime during the week of the 15th of December, likely going to be on the 18th, but I'm solidifying 17th or the 18th. I'm solidifying that. So thank you very much. That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, District 3 community meeting for this month is Thursday night, the 17th. Our topic is going to be talking with the Friendship Foundation related to their plans for the old school site at Franklin Park. And that'll start at 6 o'clock. It'll be virtual on Zoom, information forthcoming. And then I'll just make an announcement that last night the South Bay City Council of Governments had a special meeting specifically related to the closure of restaurants. And we unanimously decided to send letters to both the governor and to the Board of Supervisors related to a variety of issues, namely the one to the governor seeking additional funding. There was a $26 billion amount of money that they did not account for in the budget that came in after the taxes were received in July, and so we're trying to see if we can get our businesses more monies from the state, since the federal government is abdicating their duty right now. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Grant.
Sure. First and foremost, our District 4 City Council meeting will be on Saturday the 12th. That's the second Saturday of the month. It'll be at 9:30. Emails will be going out. We've got lots to talk about in District 4. And also, I want to put another shout out to Joy Adekin. We had another great legal push forward with regards to the cannabis church or the shop that is on Aviation Boulevard. Got another good thing. She was in court yesterday. A number of our residents in that area on Clark Lane were there, and just a very good outcome. So things are moving along, and just kudos to her, Mike Webb, and the entire prosecution team. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you to them. Thanks, Councilmember Grant. Councilmember MD.
I just want to do a quick shout out to our tree department. There was a hit and run. 2 trees got taken out on Manhattan Beach Boulevard, and we're going to get them replaced by December 3rd. Second one is I actually got a text message and a picture from a resident who said that Cody from our Public Works was fixing our sidewalks, and he's a real personable guy, and he's working his butt off. That's the exact quote of the text message. So that's good to see that our residents are liking that. And also, I just want to remind everybody that next Tuesday on December 8th, we're planning on having the public hearing for the Artesia Aviation Corridor Plan. And so to make sure to tune in next week for that. Thanks.
Great, thank you. I'd like to thank our staff. I'd like to thank this council for putting in that 4-way stop at Torrance Boulevard and Broadway. That has been a real problem child intersection for as long as I've been paying attention to it, more like 15 years. We did some baby steps to try to figure out a way to make it safer. There's been a lot of accidents there. Every time we did a report, there'd be, 5 accidents in a year. So I'm serious. And it was a very confusing intersection. And I went out there with Jack Rydell. It had to be 6 years ago. And he agreed. And we tried a step of putting in flashing lights so people could cross safely. And the intersection was still a problem. And so we finally voted to go ahead and put in an all-way stop, see what happens. I got to tell you, it's immediate hit with all the residents who use that thoroughfare. It's working. That intersection, the safety of that intersection has dramatically increased. People feel comfortable going through it now. I haven't seen any real problems with backup onto PCH. If that does happen on busy weekends, well, it'll just be something that we'll all have to contend with, because that intersection is 200% safer 99% of the time now. So many thanks to the council for moving forward on that. It wasn't expensive, but it did require some changes. And so I just want to tell everybody what a huge hit that is. It's an intersection I've been using for 25 years, and I know many other people have too, and really, really happy to see that. So thank you. So with that, I guess we'll move on to our regular meeting of the community. Well, let's do. Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Any objections? Okay, so ordered. We have our agenda. So next up is a regular meeting of the Redondo Beach Community Financing Authority. Roll call, please.
Member Nierenheim.
Here.
Member Lowenstein.
Here.
Member Horvath.
Here.
Member Gran.
Here.
Member MD.
Here.
Chairman Brand.
Here. Thank you. As a reminder to everybody, this is the Community Financing Authority. And are there any blue folder items for this?
No, Mayor.
Okay. Are there any objections to the current order of agenda? Okay, so ordered. There are 4 items on the consent calendar. These will be approved all in one motion, unless somebody wants to pull any items. Are there any council members who like to pull any item from the consent calendar? Are there any public comments on the not on consent calendar?
No comments.
So I'll make a motion to accept the calendar. Accept the.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Horvath, motion by Councilmember Gran. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nierenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Gran.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay, do you need to read anything, Eleanor, on that?
No, not for this one, Mayor. This is
Okay,
it.
next is public participation on non-agenda items. Again, this is a meeting of the Community Financing Authority. Are there any members of the public like to speak on non-agenda items for this hearing, this meeting?
We have none, and we have no e-comments also.
Okay, great. So there's no public hearings, old or new business. Any referrals to staff? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until January 5th, 2021.
Motion to adjourn until January 5th, 2021.
Second.
Okay, second by Councilmember Horvath, I believe. Motion by Councilmember Nierenheim. Are there any objections? Okay, so ordered. We are adjourned from the Community Financing Authority. Next up is a regular meeting of the Redondo Beach Housing Authority. I'll call to order. Roll call, please.
Okay, just want to wait and get our two commissioners.
Oh,
There we go.
Right.
Okay, so Member Nierenheim,
Here.
Member Lowenstein,
Here.
Member Horvath,
Here.
Member Gran,
Here.
Member MD,
Here.
Commissioner Linez,
Here.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Here.
and Chairman Brand.
here. Thank you. And thank you to Vogelsang and Commissioner Lioness. Really appreciate you guys making it. Order of agenda. Is there any changes or objections to our order of agenda from anyone? Okay, well then so ordered. Blue folder items. Are there any blue folder items for consideration?
No, Mayor. No blue folder items.
Okay, thank you. So consent calendar, we have 3 items on the consent calendar. Are there any public comments on these consent calendar items?
No, we have no comments or e-comments.
Would anybody like to pull any item out of the consent calendar? Okay, not hearing any takers. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved.
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Lioness, seconded by Commissioner Lowenstein. I'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Lioness,
Aye.
Commissioner Vogelsang,
Aye.
Commissioner Imdy,
Aye.
Commissioner Gran,
Aye.
Commissioner Horvath,
Aye.
Commissioner Lowenstein,
Aye.
and Commissioner Nierenheim.
Aye.
Okay, do you need to read anything?
Not here, Mayor. Nope.
Great, and there are no excluded items. Public participation on non-agenda items. Again, this is the Redondo Beach Housing Authority. Are there any public comments for non-agenda items for this
No, we
meeting?
have no items, no public comments.
Okay, so there are no public hearings, old or new business, but let's get our status report on the Section 8 and Fair Housing Program. Angelica, are you going to?
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. I will be sharing my screen for this presentation.
Great.
So this is the quarterly status report for the Redondo Beach Section 8 and the Fair Housing Programs for the months of September, October, and November of 2020. We currently have 432 program participants. The majority, 3/4 of the participants, are seniors or disabled. Our current goal, as outlined in our agency plan, is to house 633 families. The challenges that we face to reach our goal include rising rents, low vacancy, and negative stereotypes about our program. The table that you see on screen reflects the Section 8 activity over the last 3 months. We had 10 new contracts. We were able to renew 89 leases. We had 8 families that moved or were permanently removed from the program. The average monthly housing payment is $1,155. That is what the city contributes towards the participants' rent every month. And the total housing payments dispersed for the last 3 months was $1.488 million. The following are funding highlights with regards to the Section 8 program. In March of this year, the Housing Authority received its award letter. Both the Housing Choice Voucher Program and our VASH program are fully funded. Earlier this year, RBHA also received a little bit over $242,000 in funding under the CARES Act. RBHA is using this funding to create a healthy, safe, and sanitary environment for our staff and for our program participants for when we reopen. And lastly, HUD continues to recognize RBHA as a high-performing agency. Another highlight of our program is the VASH program, or the Veteran Affairs Supportive Housing. For this fiscal year 2020, HUD awarded us with 40 HUD VASH vouchers. So far, we've been able to house 20 veteran families, and we're working diligently to be able to house the remaining 20 before the end of the fiscal year. This has been made possible because we were allowed to increase our payment standard to 140% of the fiscal year 2020 FMR. And this increase in payment standard has enabled our veterans to secure better housing here within the city of Redondo Beach. The Section 8 waiting list. So the last time that we opened our Section 8 waiting list was in September of 2015. We currently have approximately a little bit over 4,600 families on that waiting list. Just last week, we were able to pull 200 families from the waiting list, and our goal is to continue pulling families until we reach our goal of 633. Any applicant that wants to check the status of the waiting list, they can call the number on screen, 855-361-9512, or they can visit the website www.waitlistcheck.com. Whenever we talk about the waiting list, whenever people hear the number 4,600 people, I mean, they feel it as a large number. And actually, we're doing pretty good in comparison to other housing authorities. We know of other housing authorities with over 20,000 people on their waiting list, with people waiting 10 to 15 years to get called. And in comparison to them, we're doing pretty well. We have 4,600, and we're calling people that just applied 5 years ago. Fair housing. The Housing Authority continues to refer those people in need of advice to the Housing Rights Center. Anyone that needs assistance can call the number on screen, 213-387-8400. They can assist with things such as housing discrimination investigations, landlord-tenant mediation, or counseling services. And this completes my presentation. Thank you for your time. I'm here if anyone has any questions.
Great. Thank you. Are there any questions? Let me see. Sorry. I guess that would be right.
I got a question.
I don't see any hands up.
Oh, sorry, Mayor Brown, I got a question to raise my hand.
Sure, go ahead.
The new administration, you just mentioned Section 8, and we're not fully funded. The new administration has come in and said that they're going to fully fund the Section 8 services. I'm not sure if you can talk to that yet. If they will fully fund the Section 8 services at a federal level, how will that affect us? Will we be able to get most of our people on a waiting list, off the waiting list, so on and so forth?
That's not going to happen. Off the waiting list, we have 4,600 people. I mean, we can only house 633. I have not heard anything about our funding being cut. Every month I receive notification.
It's the opposite. The new administration, the federal administration that's coming in, in February, they want to long-term double the amount, or fully fund, I should say. The exact verbiage has been fully fund the Section 8 housing program. So while I understand 4,600 units or people would be a lot, and I don't expect that, but will that increase our amount of people on the program?
That should increase the money that we get to be able to assist more families. Yes, definitely. I have not heard anything about it, but that would be something positive for our city.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Narenheim. All right, well, thank you, Angelica. I guess I'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
Motion to receive and file.
Second.
Okay.
I second.
Second by Commissioner Lyons. A motion by Councilmember Narenheim, or Commissioner Narenheim. Is there any objection?
And Mayor, we have no comments also.
Okay, thank you, Honor. Appreciate that reminding me. Okay, with that, I get any referrals to staff? Okay, not hearing any. I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Vanessa? Make it happen. Motion to adjourn, Vanessa?
Aye.
I'll second your motion to adjourn.
Okay. Vanessa made a motion and Councilmember Nierenheim, or Commissioner Nierenheim, seconded it. Is there any objection to adjourning? Okay, so ordered. Thank you, Commissioner Lyoness and Vanessa. I really appreciate it. And I guess our next meeting really is until March. So
Thank you.
we'll see you then.
Angelica, thank you for your report.
holidays.
Yes, happy holidays.
Happy New Year. It's amazing. Looking forward to a new year.
Yeah.
Okay, with that, I will go back to our regular council meeting and call to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Nierenheim.
Here.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Here.
Councilmember Horvath.
Here.
Councilmember Gran.
Here.
Councilmember MD.
Here.
Mayor Brand.
Here. Blue folder items. I know we have some blue folder items. You want to list them for which items there, Eleanor?
Sure. P1, related to Redondo Beach Municipal Code regarding lot consolidations, we have public comment. P2, the various city boards and commissions, the mayor's boards and commission recommendations. We also have N1, related to the CDBG CARES Act funding, Riviera Village request for funding, and would like to have H11 pulled to come to a later meeting.
What's that last item?
H11, they are requesting to pull that item. It's related to a letter of agreement with the Los Angeles County of joint transactions to contract a homelessness services provider.
Oh, we want to have a discussion. If somebody wants us to pull it and have a discussion.
No, we want, no, it's to be
That,
Off the agenda.
off the agenda, pulled to be off the agenda.
Okay. That's from staff. Staff wants us to
Yes.
pull it from the agenda.
Yes, sorry, staff.
Okay, well, all right. I guess somebody can make that motion. I thought we already approved the order of agenda.
Yeah, you're right. I just forgot to mention that. Okay.
I'm not quite sure how to handle that. Maybe.
We'll just pull it, when we get to consent calendar, we can just pull it for,
Okay. All right. Is there a motion to add these items to these blue folder items to the record?
Motion to add those blue folder items to the record.
Second.
Okay. A motion by Councilmember Nierenheim, seconded by Councilmember Horvath. Any objections? Okay, so ordered. Consent calendar. First, I'll entertain a motion to remove item H11.
11.
Also moved. So second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Lowenstein, seconded by Councilmember Nierenheim to remove item H11 and continue it to another meeting. Are there any objections? Okay, so ordered. So now we're going to the full consent calendar items. Tonight we have 17 items on consent, minus that one, which makes it 16. So we will be passing these all in one motion unless a council member wants to pull them or someone else. And we'll take public comments after we see who's pulling any items. So Councilmember Nierenheim, do you have any items you'd like to pull?
I do not have any other items to pull. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
H6, please.
Councilmember Horvath.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Gran.
You're on mute.
Thank you. Sorry.
Any items, John?
No, thank you.
Councilmember MD.
No, thank you.
Okay, other than items H6 and H11, which we already pulled, are there any public comments?
No, Mayor, no Zoom or e-comments.
Okay, great. I'll entertain a motion for those items other than H6 and H11 to approve.
I moved.
Okay, and I need to read the ordinance, or,
Whoa. Did we get a motion to approve it?
I made a motion.
Did someone
Second.
second?
Oh, second.
Motion by Councilmember Horvath, seconded by Councilmember Lowenstein to approve the consent calendar other than items H6 and H11. So I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nierenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Gran.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay, do you need to read some things, Eleanor?
yes. H14, adopt by title only ordinance number 3209-20, an ordinance of the City Council, City of Redondo Beach, California, amending Municipal Code Chapter 34 to Title 4 regarding unlawful camping for second reading and adoption. H15, adopt by 4/5 vote and by title only resolution number CC-2012-093, a resolution of City Council, City of Redondo Beach, California, authorizing a 2020-2021 fiscal year budget modification to appropriate $15,000 from the Emergency Communications Fund for the creation of an internal platform between Mark 43 Inc. and World Advancement of Technology for EMS and Rescue Inc. WATER. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Eleanor. So item H6, Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yeah, real briefly, Ted, what's the time frame for the roofing to be complete? Will it be done before the wet season?
Councilmember, thank you. It's not that it'll be completed before the wet season. We are here with you to get the contract approved, and the roof right now is protected, and the contractor will come on board as soon as the contract documents are signed, and he'll be ready to go. And he'll be protecting it during any rainstorms that come around.
Okay, and roughly, what does it take, a week, 2 weeks to do it, the roofing?
No, it'll take a little bit longer than that. I think it'll take about 4 to 6 weeks to complete.
Oh, okay, substantial. Okay, and then motion to approve H6, please.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Lowenstein, seconded by Councilmember Horvath. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nierenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Gran.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay, that's great. You know, the Morale Historical House is really something special. And it's great to be keeping it up. And I'm sure it's not enough for some people, particularly Linda Oss. But, you know, with people like her and the whole rest of the historical group, it's really important. So thanks for doing that. Okay. Is that the consent calendar? I think that's it. So moving right along, public participation on non-agenda items is the opportunity from anyone in the public to talk about anything that is not on the agenda. Everyone gets 3 minutes. So, yeah, with that, how many people do we have want to speak under non-agenda items?
Okay, we have Holly. I don't see her. I'm going to ask her. Okay, there she goes.
Is she the only one?
She's the only one, and then we have an e-comment.
Okay, great. Go ahead, Holly.
Okay. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and staff. I want to talk about Huntington Park. Huntington Park is a city in East LA. It has about 60,000 residents in 3 square miles and a density of 31.1 people per acre. Redondo's is about 17.1 per acre and 6.2 square miles. That is close to 20,000 people per square mile. It's just about the densest city in SCAG. It has 0.7 acres of park space per 1,000 residents. Redondo has 2.3. It has a RENA of 1,600, and yes, they are appealing. And they also mention over 70% renters, and they have absentee landlords. In short, Huntington Park sounds like a disaster area that has already happened. I do not want Redondo Beach to become a disaster. Listen to what Huntington Park has written in one of their supporting documents. Quote, during the last 20 years, the former leadership of the city built a significant number of apartment units without a parking requirement, reducing opportunities to increase our needed open space, creating a severe parking problem and a serious overcrowded situation in the city, end quote. Do I need to read that again? Because people, that is prophetic. You can print that sentence out and put it on your wall, and 20 years from now, the next city planner will not have to think about what to write. At the last planning commission meeting when discussing the ADU ordinance, it was mentioned that in multifamily zoning areas, landlords can convert parts of the garages to ADU. Yes, you heard that right. What can we do about this? We need to educate our legislators and ask them to write bills to remove a few of the most odious conditions in the ADU legislation. I would like people to take pictures of any ADUs where it seems that the owner has abused the right to build an ADU and it has an adverse effect on the neighbor, or in this case, the tenants. You can start with those apartment owners and the person who complained at the last planning commission meeting about a neighbor's new ADU being too close to the wall. These pictures need to be shown to our legislators, just as I took a picture last time of small size lots to show that they really can't be split, the absurdity of it. Our legislators are Senator Allen and Assemblyman Maritsucci, but that is not enough. We need to reach out to our neighboring legislators, and here's one way to do it. The last SB-COG meeting, the COG chair, Olivia Valentine from Hawthorne, mentioned having Zoom meetings with the legislators, and housing was one of the topics. The SB-COG will organize these Zoom meetings so you can tell the legislator what is good and what is bad about these housing bills. Most legislators are clueless about what is in the bills. I'm asking each of the council members to become a BFF with a council member of another city in the COG who has a different senator and assembly member. For instance, Lawndale, they're different. If Senator Bradford and so forth. By teaming up with other COG members, we can get more legislators educated. We need to do this one step at a time.
Okay, well, that's a great idea, Holly, that each council member team up with another council member in a city with a different state representatives to help educate them. And she's exactly right. They really, talking to a lot of the state reps, don't really know what a lot of these bills do. They don't understand them, and they have it wrong in several instances. So I think that's a great idea. Identify another council member in a neighboring state assembly district or senate district to help educate them so that they can educate their state rep. Thank you, Holly. Any other?
No, not there, but Vicki, you want to read the comments, please?
Yes, we do have under item J1 a comment submitted by Eugene Solomon. Election season is upon us. Redondo has its own campaign finance rules now added to the statewide rules, but no apparent method of reporting or description of process that I can find on the redondo.org website. In the interest of public awareness and transparency, please direct the public to where they can read about or submit information if they feel a violation has taken place, and describe the process that would follow. If it has been published, could that be added in the near future? Lastly, if the city attorney's office would investigate a complaint, how would any potential conflict be handled if the allegation was directed to the city attorney or their opponent, or other conflicts that may arise? What procedures do we have for this situation? Thank you for the information and for your time. There's another comment submitted under J1. However, it does appear applicable to item 01, so I'll read that later.
Okay. So no other e-comments or anyone wanting to participate in this item, non-agenda items?
It does not appear so.
Okay, great. With that, we will move on. We've got two public hearings tonight. One is to consider the annual report of the Riviera Village Business Improvement District, and the other one is a public hearing to consider an amendment to the Community Development Department user fees to add a tobacco retail permit fee. So we'll do ex parte communications, and if you've had any discussions with anyone about either of these two items in these public hearings, let us know. So, Councilmember Narenhut.
The Riviera bid one, item L1. I've had discussions with the bid itself. The second item, tobacco, I have not had discussions with anyone. That's it.
Okay, Councilmember Lowenstein.
I have not. Thank you.
Councilmember Horvath.
No, I have not.
Councilmember Grant.
On L2, I've spoken with the public and a couple of folks that are having to put these TRLs in. So.
Okay, Councilmember MD.
No, I have not.
Okay, I've had conversations with members of the public, some members of the bid, about item L1 regarding a Riviera Village Business Improvement District. With that, I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing for L1 to consider the Riviera Village Business Improvement District.
So moved.
Second.
Any objection? Okay, public hearing is open, and I guess Stephen Proud, you're going to lead this discussion.
I am. Hopefully you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, looks great.
Great, perfect. So this is our annual process for the renewal of the Business Improvement District for the Riviera Village. As you know, page down, let's do this. There we go. So the Riviera Village Business Improvement District, as you know, was established in 2003 as a means to provide an opportunity for a designated area of the city to form and do activities that benefit them, that may be marketing activities, beautification activities, et cetera. The operations are overseen by a nonprofit corporation, the Riviera Village Association, and they oversee the funding activity. And the businesses within the district, they elect the board that then oversees those activities. The renewal process is a two-step process. You took the first step on November 3rd when you received and filed the Business Improvement District Advisory Board's annual report for 2021. And at that same time, the City Council declared the intent to levy an assessment and set a public hearing date. Today is that public hearing date, and so tonight we're holding the public hearing. And absent a majority protest of businesses within the district, confirm the report of the Business Advisory Board, the Business Improvement District Advisory Board, and improve the levy of the assessment. The proposed assessment for 2021 remains unchanged. It basically is a structure that is either derived from number of employees, or in the case of property owners, if you have rental units, it's a base fee of $100 in the case of employee driven, and $29 per each employee, not to exceed $100,000. And for the property owners, $1,000, yeah, not $100,000, $1,000. And for property owners, it's a $100 base fee, $29 per rental unit, and again, not to exceed $1,000. The proposed assessment is estimated to generate revenues of approximately $80,000. And for 2021, the Business Improvement District is planning to expend those funds mostly on beautification, 50% on beautification, 40% on marketing, and then 10% on administrative expenses. Just a couple of things to highlight in terms of accomplishments for the Business Improvement District, and I would like to acknowledge that Jeff Ginsburg, the president of the association, is available to expand on some of these accomplishments. The one that you obviously are most familiar with, because it's had such a dramatic impact, is the implementation of the Parklets. In response to the COVID-19 pandemic, the businesses in the district have taken to the streets literally and created parkettes to allow their businesses to thrive, and they've been a huge success enabling businesses to continue to remain open during the pandemic. There's also been several beautification efforts, whether that be taking care of some of the plantings that are potted along the district areas, or doing some new art wraps around some of the utility boxes that are inside of the district. So just some of the things that the Riviera Village Business Improvement District have been working on. For the upcoming fiscal year, some of the things that they currently have, and these are all listed inside the annual report that was prepared and submitted to you at your previous meeting. Things like continuing to work with the city to complete the sidewalk pavers capital improvement project throughout the village, improving vehicle and pedestrian safety through the addition of a roundabout at Catalina and Avenue I, pursuing a long-term goal to add a parking garage to the existing Triangle parking lot and to improve the parking availability as a result of that. Continue to add and maintain plants in the pots along Catalina Avenue, Avenue I, Avenida del Norte, and Elena. Further develop the website, marketing, and social media program for the village, a huge success. I see it pop up on my Facebook continuously. And continue to meet with the Redondo Beach Travel and Tourism Board to work on the consolidated map for the hotels, the pier, and the harbor. So with that, what we're recommending tonight, and you've already taken the first step, which is to open the public hearing and take public testimony. Then, if you choose to close the public hearing and consider adopting resolution number CC 2012092, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Redondo Beach, California, confirming the report of the Riviera Village Business Improvement District Advisory Board and levying an assessment for fiscal year 2021. And that concludes staff's presentation. We're happy to take any questions you may have. And as I mentioned earlier, Jeff Ginsburg is here and available for you if you'd like to direct any questions to the association themselves. Thank you very much.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Stephen. Why don't we start with Councilmember Nierenheim?
Thank you, Mayor Brand. Yeah, all I wanted to say was, they do, the bid does a great job. They meet every month. I sit in on their meetings to listen and give them updates every month. And I'm really impressed the way they work together. They have different, wants and needs, and they work it out. The village bid has really come together right now for the outdoor dining and taking a huge load off city staff's desk, and to deal with the grants and to deal with the outdoor dining and the permits and where all the outdoor dining garden parkettes go. They're doing a phenomenal work. They've really repurposed themselves down there, and want to thank them for doing what they're doing. And the village would not be the same without them, and they're a huge success, and I would love to see it move forward. So that's all I have to say. I will make a motion right now just to, let's see here. What is your staff recommendations of, let me see here, pull it up. What did you say?
Approving the resolution to levy the fee.
There you go. Approve the resolution to levy the fee for the Riviera Business District.
Yeah, we got to do that first. So
Yeah.
hold off on that motion.
Oh, that's right. We're going to close public hearing. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So is Jeff Ginsburg available? Jeff, you want to talk?
Hi there, everyone. Yes, this is Jeff Ginsburg. I'm the current president of the Riviera Village Association, and appreciate all the efforts and help that the city staff and our council member and mayor, everyone has assisted us so much in making the Parklet program available in the village. I don't think there's a city where it turned out better than it has in Redondo Beach. And so really appreciate all the support from you. And I know that the new orders prohibit, at least temporarily, the outdoor dining, but as soon as things get a little more relaxed out there with the restrictions, we're ready to get things open up again out there. So any questions any of you have, I'd be happy to answer.
Well, thank you, Jeff. I'll just say on behalf of the mayor and probably the rest of the council, just thank you for all the work you've done and working with our staff, working with Councilmember Nierenheim and all of us, and particularly the restaurateurs there to put this program together. I think we're kind of the first mover on this. And not only the first mover, but we were the best ones on executing these projects. So it's just really impressive, and it's due to all the team building that's gone on and you've been integral with. And I put emphasis on 3 weeks because hopefully after 3 weeks things have calmed down. I emphasize hopefully because the numbers appear to be going in the wrong direction. But closing outdoor dining has really initiated a lot of talk about forming our own health department in the South Bay. So I was on the COG meeting last night, and a lot of talk about that from all the mayors, and it's not going to help with this pandemic, but it could certainly help in the future to be able to segment out Redondo Beach and the other South Bay cities from being saddled with the horrible numbers we see in LA County. But right. That is the situation. Right now, we are at the whim of the Los Angeles County Health Department and the state. I've been in conversations with the CEOs of the hospitals. Their hospitalizations are going up. They've gone up significantly in the last month. Just to give an example, little companies gone from single-digit COVID patients to 50-something now. So, and to be hospitalized, most people don't get hospitalized with COVID. Most people recover at home. So to see the hospitalizations going up, it takes a lot to get hospitalized, is disturbing. And so people are very concerned about it, and that's why you see these kinds of restrictions coming back. But hopefully they won't last long. Vaccines are around the corner, a matter of weeks for frontline professionals. And so, yeah, that's kind of what's going on with that. The parklets are suffering that fate, unfortunately, temporarily. So anyway, I don't see any more hands up. Any public comment? Eleanor.
Muted.
Oh, Eleanor, you were muted.
I don't see any attendees
Yeah.
want to comment. Are there any written public comments to this?
No,
item?
there are no e-comments or Zoom comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Okay, is there any objection? Okay, hearing no objection, I'll entertain a motion to accept staff's recommendation.
I'll make a motion to accept staff recommendations to levy the fee for the Riviera Business District.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Narenheim, second by Councilmember Lowenstein. Any more discussion? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim?
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein?
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath?
Aye.
Councilmember Grand?
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Great, well, there you go. Eleanor, yeah, you gotta read
I
this?
need to read a resolution. Adopt by title only resolution number CC-2012-092, resolution City Council, City of Redondo Beach, California, confirming the 2021 report of the Riviera Village Business Improvement District Advisory Board and levying an assessment for fiscal year 2021. Thank you, Mayor.
Great, thank you, Jeff, for joining us, and thanks to your wife for being one of those frontline nurses for all of us.
She's doing her 12-hour shift tonight. Yes, cases have popped up. And well, one last thing, I don't know if you guys realize, but there's a new supervisor taking seat. I believe she's being sworn in on the 7th. And so Holly Mitchell, she could be possibly the third vote to overturn the ban on the outdoor dining. So if any of you know her or can put in some kind support words about the outdoor dining, that would be greatly appreciated. And I hope everyone stays healthy.
Great. Thank you. Good seeing you, Jeff.
Good seeing you too, Bill.
Okay. Thank you. So next up is item L2. L2 is a public hearing to consider amendment to the Community Development Department user fees to add a local tobacco retail permit fee pursuant to the ordinance. The proposed fee shall not exceed the city's cost of permit administration. So is there a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion by Councilmember Horvath, second by Councilmember Grand to open the public hearing. Are there any objections? Okay, so the public hearing is open, and with that, I'll turn it over to Brandy Forbes, our Community Development Director. Brandy.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is we're revisiting the tobacco licensing ordinance that was adopted last year. That ordinance was adopted in October of 2019 and became effective on November 15th of 2019. But the City Council had authorized a 1-year grace period before tobacco retailers would be required to comply. So the local retail permit is a valuable mechanism that allows the city to establish its own stricter local tobacco regulations and helps fund the enforcement of that. By implementing a local tobacco retail permit ordinance, the current 43 tobacco retailers and any new retailers would be required to obtain this annual tobacco retail permit, similar to the city business license. The tobacco retail permit has provisions, that ordinance has provisions defining tobacco products, prohibiting the sale of all flavored tobacco products, no sale to minors, banning self-service displays, requiring an inspection once a year, and allowing undercover enforcement, and it's non-transferable. So in conjunction with the establishment of that local permit and those regulations, an annual permit fee needs to be established within the city's master fee schedule in an amount that's in line with the city's reasonable costs of permit administration. So that's what's before you this evening. It requires a public hearing to add that fee to the fee schedule. The recommended amount is an annual fee of $250 that's based on the cost of the planning division and code enforcement staff. And with that, these fees are in line. We evaluated other municipalities and what they charge for fees. So this is in line with what those other municipalities charge. And that was in your packet.
Okay, so is that it, Brandy?
That's it.
That's just your recommendation to adopt the fees.
Yes.
Okay, are there any public comments, Eleanor or Vicky, related to this?
No, we have no Zoom comments or we have no e-comments also, Mayor.
Okay, there are no hands up, so I guess I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any objection? Okay, so order public hearing is closed. Is there a motion?
Motion to adopt by title only resolution CC 211-086.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Horvath, second by Councilmember Lowenstein to accept staff recommendation. I guess I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Gran.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay, Eleanor, you want to read the, I
Yes.
guess you need to, or do you?
Adopt by title only resolution number CC-2011-086, a resolution City Council City of Redondo Beach, California, amending the Community Development Department user fees to add a tobacco retail permit fee. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. So I guess we're moving right along. Item N1, discussion and possible action regarding unallocated community development block grant CARES Act funding and eligible uses. So Marnie, explain this to us and see what we need action we need to consider.
Sure.
Marnie,
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Staff was asked to provide you with some information this evening regarding the unallocated CDBG CARES Act funding and discuss its eligible uses. As you recall, the city received $453,481 of CDBG CV Round 3 funding. The City Council then allocated all of the funding, but $50,000 that was allocated for a Riviera Village Association Business Assistance Grant turned out to not be an eligible use of CDBG funding. So it was funded by our state allocation of CARES Act funding. So that now leaves $50,000 unallocated of the CDBG funding. Should council want to allocate those funds this evening, some considerations to take into account are included in your admin report. But they basically boil down to the fact that it needs to the funding needs to go to small businesses. There's more clarification about, low income employees, how many employees a business can have, and that sort of thing. In your blue folder, you do have a request from the RVA on behalf of its businesses, mostly to do some additional parklets and then some winterizing of the parklets that are already there. We also have with us tonight Damian Delaney. He is from Michael Baker International, our CDBG consultants. And so he's well more versed on the eligible uses of the CDBG funding than I am. So between the two of us, we can tackle any of the questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Marnie. Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Brand. I just want to make sure I realize that we're talking about the $50,000 that was originally allocated towards RVA, but the $40,000 citywide, businesses are allowed to apply for that, right?
We are still working through with city attorney on the application and the guidelines. And we are getting really close to being able to release those.
Okay, so if I told, like I had a conversation with a couple of different businesses this week, can I give them a week, 2 weeks before they think it'll be ready to apply?
Sure.
So about a week or so. Okay, great. I'll have them contact, I guess, you, Marnie, or someone else. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, it would be me. We have a separate email box for these grants. It's financemail@redondo.org.
Okay, financemail@redondo.org for specifically for the grants.
Yep.
It's also up on the website under the on redondo.org under the financial department.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Narenheim.
Thank you, Mayor Brand. So regarding CDBG funds and allocating them the $50,000 to the Riviera bid, I understand we can't do it to the bid directly, right? It's got to go to an individual business, right? And it's got. Do they have to produce an invoice or receipt to get that? Can we interpret that so we can spend the money directly to them as long as it hits the qualifications? That's kind of what I'm understanding. Is that true?
So so we've been doing reimbursement grants where the businesses have incurred costs because of COVID, and we are reimbursing them for those costs. So we will need to see receipts, proof of payment, all that kind of stuff, that the small business made that payment or incurred those costs as opposed to the association.
Right. Okay. So it says here, provision of assistance to private for-profit entities where appropriate to carry out an economic development project. Provide grants or loans, avoid job loss caused by business closure related to social distancing, provide short-term working capital assistance. By providing short-term working capital assistance to small business is to enable retention of jobs held by low and moderate income persons. So I'm kind of reading that and thinking and seeing, there are 4 garden parkettes left to be built at a cost of around $6,000 each. So that leaves around $24,000 for that. We could utilize $24,000 of that directly for the building of the construction of those, correct?
Right.
Okay. As we can't give them the $50,000 directly to everyone or to the bid, I was thinking of a larger program because I wanted to get the retailers involved as well. And what's important about that, it's not just the restaurateurs that are getting hit right now and hurt, especially since there's no, walk-through traffic. It's just people pick up and walking away, right? I wanted to have an idea about maybe including retail and restaurants down the village, like a gift card program to provide direct sales to businesses to help in offset the losses incurred by this second shutdown. So if we come up with a program, for instance, I was talking to Alan Stanford over at Beach Live, and they are working with Beach City's Health District to do something called Operation Smiles. And that's a program where they are buying gift cards and from businesses. That's direct money to them. And the BCHD has Operation Smiles, for instance, has some BC's Health District program money in there, and if they are properly social distancing, like Mr. Backley said last time, if they're part of the Blue Zones project and they're part of the Safer at Home project and they're abiding by all the rules, they're a part of this program. And so I'm thinking that maybe we could utilize some of these gift cards, buy some of these gift cards from the businesses, and give them out to the or have the public access these gift cards. So and use it in that program. So would that be possible? A gift card program like that?
So what do we do with the gift cards then?
We can provide it to Beach City's Health District, and as well as people can buy the gift cards directly. We give them out to people who are part of the program, like for beach cleanups. We can give it directly to the businesses so that they can have the money and they can give out to the public.
Yeah, and our consultant is telling me that gift cards are not an eligible expense.
Okay. Because I want to get the rest of the retailers.
So some options in your admin report are assisting with their rent payments or their utility payments.
Right, I saw that in there. So if they just give us a copy of their invoices that they've paid, or the copy of a check, that would suffice as well. So we can set up a program for a maximum of $1,000, so we can hit as many businesses as possible.
Right.
Okay. So I would be in favor of doing something like that. So doing this $24,000 for garden parquets.
Now, if you add up the request that Riviera Village submitted, if you add up the four, it's $34,000.
Yeah, but we can't give that money directly to the bid. We have to give it to the business owners, right?
Yes, so it would be to those four.
Yeah, so those are those for $32,000? I did my math.
34,000.
Okay, maybe I was off by 10. Okay, so I would say to finish off 34,000 to those business owners, and then maybe citywide for the rest of the 16,000 in increments of $500 or $1,000 to give out to help any business, a retail or restaurant business that is suffering from especially the second shutdown. That's something I would be in favor of. Does that make sense to you, Marty?
Sure.
Okay. Councilmember Grant.
Yes. So the dining, the parquets that we're talking about, I think that's a good use of that money. I think the remaining 16,000, putting that into the program that's being put together, which is the citywide, it covers the most for everyone, right? So anything that they needed to do to be able to protect, to keep open or do whatever, it applies to any business in the rest of our city. That's very good. We already have the $40,000 that's going out to the rest of the city. I say we put that 16,000 on top of that, so it's a total pool of 56,000 that is eligible for other businesses.
50,000.
Well, it's 40 plus 16 is 56,000.
34.
Hold on. So there's 16,000 left after doing the parquets and giving those ones those ones. There's $16,000 left. Put that into the citywide pool. If that works.
Yeah.
I think John's correct.
Yeah, that would be correct. Yeah.
So I would make a motion to do that. I think that's the best we can do with that. It allows people to use the existing programs to go out and cover costs that they've had to incur. So.
Second.
Okay, that seems clear. Jeff Ginsburg has his hand up. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yes. So I don't know if you guys saw, but there's a blue folder item that was added to this, which shows the expenses a bit higher than that for the parklets. I got a more clear breakdown from Alan with regards to the actual estimated costs of parklets. And so I think if you see that, it actually exceeds the $50,000, you know, factoring in. There's additional expenses than they originally had because of the hydrology and all that kind of stuff. So when originally the numbers came up, it was a little bit different. But then also we've got the upcoming cooler winter season, and so we're factoring in that businesses are going to have to invest in heaters and propane and that kind of stuff. And the RVA's thought process on this is that the funds going towards the parklets benefits the village overall, because as you bring more people to the village, that benefits the retail shops in addition to the restaurants, kind of thing. And that's why allocating the funds to a more public open area like the parklets, I think is, you know, a good way to go about it, as opposed to just a business's, you know, electric bill kind of thing. I think we're going to attract more business for the businesses by bringing people to more parklets. So,
Hey, Jeff, I got a quick question, but who's paying? Is it the bid that's paying it up front, or the businesses paying it and the bid paying them back? Because the problem is we can't give the money directly to the bid. We have to pay it to the businesses.
Right, and so at this time, the RVA's funds have already pretty much been drained for the parklets that we've already paid up front for. We're getting some reimbursement from the restaurants and things, but we're really financially struggling right now just because we put all of our funds towards that. And so the businesses that want to create the parklets now know that they would have to pay the upfront cost to build the parklet, and so that would allow them then to be qualify for these CDBG funds, because they personally paid for it, and they'll have a canceled check and an invoice showing they paid for it themselves. So that's why it would work. These funds would work really, really well with the unique circumstances now, because the RVA just doesn't have the money, like, because we've already spent it.
Right. So are you guys, the problem here is I need to be able to, or we need to be able to get a bill from the business itself in order to pay them directly, not the bid.
Right.
Are you charging the bid? Is there an invoice coming from the bid to the business has to pay? That would be the best thing if you guys can do that, right?
Well, the way that it would probably be set up is that the business would pay for the construction company to build the parklet. Then they would have an invoice from the construction company, a canceled check from the construction company, and be able to provide that to get reimbursed for the grant funds directly, like the program's intended.
Right. So
I
Jeff,
just want to point out 2 of them have already been built. So Little Sister and Redondo Beach Brewery already spent money.
Yeah, they actually and I don't know the way that the CDBG funds work, if it's from the date that you approve it or if it can be for previous.
Retroactive.
But yeah, retroactive.
If they've already spent the money, can they be reimbursed?
Yeah, they could. Because it's within the time period.
Yeah, it's kind of how it works, right? You spend the money, then you get reimbursed.
Right.
so what we're saying, Jeff, is that there's $34,000 that we're going towards parkettes, which seems to be pretty much the ones that weren't already built. Okay, so it looks like new restaurant, Calaveras, My Burrito, and looks like then Riviera House and Little Sister. They're adding on, right?
Little Sisters is already there. They've already paid for theirs, so they and the Redondo Brewery would both already have invoices and canceled checks for what they've spent. The 4 others that are on there are proposed parklets that if they move forward, they're going to have to pay for it themselves because the RVA doesn't have the funds at this point.
Right.
But
So Marnie, I guess where did we come up with $34,000 since we have $15,000 to work with?
Councilman Nierenheim was talking about the 4 that have not been built yet.
Mhm.
And the amounts for those total 34.
Right, that's the new restaurant, the Calaveras Meat Burrito and Riviera House.
Yep.
Okay. That's 34,000 right there.
Yes, yep.
Okay, so doing that, and then taking the remainder of the 16, each one of those can get up to essentially I believe it's $2,000 out of the citywide fund if they apply for those. So Riviera House, Little Sister, Redondo Beach Brewery, by doing that, they can get up to $2,000 out of that fund. Just that's what we're putting the 16,000 towards right now. So.
are you asking me a question? Or?
No, I'm saying that's kind of what we were talking about, and that was the motion that I made. So there are funds out there available. What Mills was also talking about was that other businesses being able to kind of benefit from that. They already are able to get up to $2,000 each by going to what we call the citywide pool, if you will, and be able to do that. That's kind of the money's what we're having. I think we agree that getting a Parklet off the ground and getting it started and getting it going is beneficial to everyone. And then putting the pools into a general use actually makes it the easiest, and we're already using an existing program to do so. That's kind of what we're talking about. Even the Parklet winterizing, if you have the different businesses that already have Parklets and they need to buy heaters, they have to buy all that. That's what that fund is for. So they can just go and they can have, hey, I've got a $500, got to get a gas bill and a heater for, 2 or 3 heaters, whatever it is. That's what that's for, so that they can go in there and get those expenses taken care of. So, you follow?
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. So it's 34, getting the 3 new ones off the ground. Take the 16,000, put it into the citywide, but then have the RVA businesses that are looking for additional funds go to that fund. That's what it's for. And we'll have 56,000 in there. We already have 40,000 in citywide funds, and we're putting an additional 16,000 in there for 56,000. And again, there's a top number of 2,000. We're trying to make it so that there's a limit, so that we're not, giving tons and tons of money to one business. We're trying to do that. We're trying to have enough for everyone to reasonably use their own funds. So that's the motion that's on the table. So.
Great. Thank you.
That clear to everybody? Okay. I want everybody to understand that these parklets are only allowed because of the Coast Commission waiver on parking. Mm-hmm. So, and that's because of COVID. So I just, everybody's got to be mindful of the fact that come the end of the COVID crisis, the Coast Commission could come back and say, those all have to go because of parking, or you got to find some way to replace the parking. So I just want, and that doesn't just go for Redondo Beach. That's, I've been to Ventura, they're closing streets, and I've been in other cities. Everybody's doing the same thing, and it's with a special waiver or whatever the Coast Commission did, special nod to allow this to occur because it's taken up parking in the coastal zone. So the city couldn't do this without their okay. So, and they can withdraw that okay. I don't know that everybody understands that. So, and I don't know that it's going to come to an end. I don't know that we can't continue it. I don't know that we can't potentially, although I don't know where we'd find the parking that we've eliminated, but let's just be mindful going forward. That's all. And we could end up setting all these up, and we could all get vaccinated, and the pandemic could be over in April, and then we're taking all these things down that we built, which could be okay. Okay, so I just want everybody to be aware of it. Okay, great. So there's a motion on the floor in a second. Anybody have any other comments?
I got a quick question here. Marnie, I just want to make sure, because we're talking about parquets and things like this, we can't use Quimby fees for this, correct?
I can answer that. No.
Okay. I just want to make sure, and there's no other block grant or grant funding or fee funds that we can tap into for this, because
just covering all the bases, make sure we I don't want to say, oh, whoops, we should have asked that. So no Quimby fees, no like developer fees.
I could be corrected, but this is private property mostly, and so.
No, it's public.
Well, it's a private business.
Okay.
It's easier for public parks and building parks and buying land and that sort of thing. Could be wrong. I don't know. But you got any comment about that, Marnie? Or?
And I think it has to be more regional too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. With that, I guess we'll just take a vote on the motion. Is the motion clear to everyone? Okay. Councilmember Nierenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Gran.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay. There
We
you
have
go.
we have no public participation.
Well,
Sorry, I didn't ask that before we had the vote. Apology.
Yeah, so no Zoom and no e-comments for the record.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. All right. So, moving right along, we'll pull up the agenda for us again. Item N2 is a discussion and possible action on the goals and objectives identified by the City Council at the October 22nd, 2020 strategic planning session. So, City Manager Joe Hepburn.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, council members. This item is a follow-up from your last strategic planning session, October 22nd, as the mayor indicated. You'll recall that during that session, much of the time was spent developing a bullet list of objectives for inclusion in your next strategic plan. Because of COVID, we're not able to have the spring planning session, so it was a year plus since the last strategic planning session. At the conclusion of the October 22nd strategic planning session, the council direction was to basically compile the lists of objectives that were generated, to distribute them to you electronically through an online voting process, basically in an effort to prioritize, reduce the list to something manageable where we could have meaningful progress and be able to accomplish some significant work during the next 6 months. So what we have before you tonight is that list of objectives. They're placed under the 6 goals that the council previously agreed to. There's multiple items under each goal. Basically, what we're asking the council tonight is to start a process, not tonight, but through a follow-up email, a survey, where we're recommending that each council member would, under each of the goals, identify 3 items that you'd like to see included in the strategic plan for progress over the next 6 months. So, I mean, it could be more than 3. We're just suggesting 3 from a standpoint of we don't have the staff capacity to put together a plan to be able to realistically accomplish everything on this list. I think that was generally recognized. There's 15 years worth of work on this list. There's going to have to be certain things identified for the next 6 months, things that receive some interest, but maybe not 3 votes by the council through the voting process, would stay on the plan as future items. We've had that in the past where things that are of interest to some of the council members stay on the plan as a future item, but not that there's work that's tangible that would be accomplished over the next 6 months. So really what we're looking to do is to have you review that list, make sure it reflects your discussion from the last strategic planning session. There was some minor editing that we did to the list. We didn't take anything off of it. You'll recall there was a lot of time spent going through that list quickly. Basically, after 5 hours, it was Councilmember Lowenstein that had made the suggestion, let's bring back a survey as a way to reduce the listing and develop some priority. So That's the report. Walk through it, and if 3 sounds like the right number for each of these goals, the number of objectives under each goal, then we would move forward with that and bring it back to you. So that's the report.
So, Joe, are you suggesting we take this back and vote on it, so to speak, and get it back to you, and we're going to collate that and come back? Did I understand that correctly?
Yeah, we would make it easy for you. We would send it out electronically, either through SurveyMonkey or some other type of a program where we would do it in a way that we gather your input, but not, have any potential Brown Act violations. So we would have to do it, individually to you and distribute it that way. Then we would, once we got the list back, if there is a manageable number, whatever we wind up with significant support from the mayor and council, we would develop those into kind of the 6-month objectives. So we would have dates, times, sort of a more finite breakdown on what's the level of work that we think from a staff standpoint we could accomplish over the next 6 months. Again, bring that back to you. This is kind of an iterative process. Mm-hmm. Part of what we're dealing with is the difficulty of doing strategic planning through this format. If we were all together and had more time, you'll recall past facilitators would, we lose something by not having that interaction in person where, we could accomplish the same prioritization. That's what we've done in the past with prior facilitators. So, yeah, that's the concept, that we would develop those with more detail and bring it back to you after we get your votes.
So again, mechanically, what would happen after this meeting is that you would electronically distribute this to us, and then we would pick 3 to prioritize from each goal, and then you would collate the results of that and come back in another meeting for us to discuss.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And the only thing I feel missing is dates. Prioritizing dates, which maybe we can talk about at the next time we get together after the voting has occurred. And if the voting occurs, it may be quite clear what to prioritize. Let's certainly hope so. But maybe not. Maybe it might take further discussion. So anyway, Councilmember Lowenstein.
I'm trying to think through this. If, 2 of us agree on one goal and only 2 people agree on that, and another 2 people agree on another one, we're split somehow, how does it get resolved?
Yeah,
oral?
That's a good question. We'd be back in front of you seeking clarification on how that would work.
Okay.
Well, and this isn't a vote. Keep in mind that we're trying to deal with the challenges of the meeting in an orderly way. This is just expressing interest. You cannot, none of you know what the results are until the public knows. And so how you decide what to do with, the compilation is something for you to decide, all of you collectively, at an open and properly agendized meeting. This is just trying to, deal with the difficulties or the limitations of Zoom, but it's not a vote. It's just expression of interest, and you'll know the results at the same time the public, and it's not in all binding, and how you decide that is entirely up to you.
So 2 of us can't decide together?
What?
2 of us can't decide together. I can talk to Laura, for example.
I wouldn't do that because you're already pushing the envelope. Survey. And
I'm just saying too, there's no Brown Act violation, but
yeah, so I really would prefer you not. It's just speeding up the process of you thinking through all the items. I suggest the entire list come back with ever the results, including items that got no votes, and you'll have some place to start all together.
Okay.
So you're recommending not to have Brown Act voting on this?
Yes, absolutely. Because
Okay.
you're taking an unusual step because they're unusual times. You want to be efficient. And if we go till 2 a.m., you're not necessarily going to make the best, plan. But I would strongly recommend you have no communication on this until you and the public all find out from the city manager at the same time in your agenda packet.
Okay, we could make this really easy by just having the mayor decide it all, and then we wouldn't have to.
Yeah, let's just do that.
Let the mayor do it.
Dictator.
Go through and check them all. Hey, so anyway, that's not gonna work. Hey, Jeff Ginsburg, you can take your hand down. I don't think you wanted to speak, but maybe you do. Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, I would just, I guess, recommend, to Councilmember Lowenstein's point, right? When this does come back with the enumerations of how everyone voted, Joe, I'm assuming that at that point, then staff will also kind of put in their comments on what you think the timing would be and that information, because as we have that discussion, it would be good to know what is achievable within the 6 months, what maybe is achievable with more than 6 months time, and that may have an impact on any horse trading, if you will, onto what goals actually need to move forward if there is some a little bit of a stalemate in terms of voting.
Yes, that's correct. What we would need to do is identify this, the staff that would be the lead. We would need to identify kind of more specific objectives, kind of work product, dates, if there's target dates or council meetings that we would suggest. So the same format that you typically see with the strategic plan, that's how we would bring it back to you, the items that have interest expressed on the part of the council. I mean, if something doesn't receive any votes, for example, we're not going to develop that into an objective. We would just kind of set that aside and list it as a future item.
I think costs and funding availability could obviously sway people. I mean, if something's expensive and everybody wants it, but it's just too expensive and there's no funding, that could change people's priority too. So, obviously. Okay. Anything else, Christian? Okay, Councilmember Nierenheim.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, I'm looking at some of these and I'm going to add some further clarification here on some of these. Like I see the IT stuff on here and I'm like, oh, well, maybe we should add this in here and there. And like Mayor Brand just said, the financial aspect. So, Joe, we're going to sit down with you or Mike as well. We're going to give it to you in as a large document. We'll sit down and talk about it separately.
Well, again, keep in mind, finances are important, but the strategic plan typically doesn't have dollars allocated to each of these objectives. It's basically an identification of how the staff time is going to be spent. And if there's a need for a budget allocation, that would come back as a separate decision point in the future, either through the budget process or separately with the 4/5 vote to amend the budget. This won't come back with a lot of dollar amounts on it.
Right. No, I'm not looking for individual dollar amounts, but if we sit down and say, man, this is going to cost us $100,000 or $200,000, or this costs us $5,000, a big thing, that's an important thing in terms of, hey, this is going to be a large value.
Right, and typically what we would do for a strategic planning item like that is we would draft it in a way that really comes back with either a budget response report on the steps and funding that would be needed to pursue that initiative, or we would give you an item that might describe it as return with cost estimates for consideration of contract services or consulting services, or simply this is, the next step in this particular project might be developing kind of pre-design options, concept options, and we would bring that to you as part of the CIP procedure. So depending on the prioritization of the goals that you all express individual interest in, we'll come back and craft what would be the appropriate next 6-month objective to help you eventually achieve that goal. It may very simply be report to you or provide a budget response report as part of the mid-year budget review on cost associated with this particular venture. But it's going to depend on where you see interest and how we think we can begin to execute your vision on a sequential basis.
Okay, so, and, there's nothing in here. This is one of the big issues I have with it. There's nothing, bucket, so to speak, for Harbor. I don't see that. It's just kind of mishy-mashy somewhere in here. I mean, so for instance, we made a motion passed in September to come back with us a public improvements to harbor and waterfront public amenities plan of things that we can move forward on. So come back to us in October. Then it was end of October or end of November, early December. We're now here beginning of December. Where are we with that, for instance?
Yeah, I think that's coming to you in the next week or two, I believe. Stephen, are you on? You might be able to answer that better. I think that's either going to be on your agenda next week as an initial process or the following.
Are we talking about the public amenities plan?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. We've had some conversations with a couple of the consultants. I'm not sure if we'll have that for the 15th. If it's not, it'll be immediately after that. So that is a work in progress right now, but we have had some initial consultations to start to put some of that information together with them. So we're working that up right now as we speak.
And you've given us that direction. You don't need a separate strategic planning item on that initiative.
Right, I understand that, but I wanted to see here, I mean, there's some stuff that's going to affect the harbor and waterfront economic department. So as I go through this, I want to have that in my mind moving forward.
Which is completely understandable. Just keep in mind, this is the list you all agreed on the night of the strategic planning session. This encapsulates all the items that we discussed and ultimately all the items that you added, subtracted, and coalesced around.
Got it. Okay.
All right, Councilmember Andy.
And to your point, Nils, that's exactly what you should do, is go talk to them offline with all those concerns and so that you can talk about what's realistic and what isn't, so that we can make sure that'll help you grit your list. So it's to your point, we should all go meet with staff and make sure, any concerns we have them vetted out beforehand so that we can be a little more efficient when we get here. That's it.
Also, so the public infrastructure improvements, I consider that as part of the harbor, so. Yeah.
But to Laura's point, talk to staff with your ideas and your prioritizations so that, we have a better understanding going into the next meeting and we're not having long, complex conversations that we should have already had. Okay. Did you mean to still have your hand up, Councilmember Narenheim?
I'm good, thank you.
Are there any public comments regarding this item?
Okay, I don't see any for Zoom, but we do have a couple for e-comment. So Vicki, would you like to read those, please?
Thank you. For the first comment submitted by Roger Carlson, I'm disappointed to see no priorities for the harbor and waterfront other than statusing waterfront leasing. Redondo's harbor and waterfront are the reason I live in Redondo. With proper attention, investment, and maintenance, the waterfront could be an economic engine for the city and a national attraction. Think back to what we had with the Beach Life Festival. If the city is going to ignore the waterfront, perhaps we should consider selling the harbor to the county, balance the 2020 budget, and be done with it. The second comment is submitted by Lee Caller. It is disappointing to see no goals or objectives listed for waterfront in this plan. The waterfront is the key attraction of this city and has great potential. And that concludes comments under this item.
Okay, Stephen, you want to have any comments about that? Those are harbor commissioners and such, about how we can address the harbor, because it is obviously a priority, and you look at this and it's kind of not specifically in there. By the way, somebody needs to mute themselves. There's background noise coming through, but
yeah, I guess my comment would be, I'm not sure, and this hasn't been a topic that was discussed at the Harbor Commission, because the last time you sought input from the Harbor Commission was when we did the goals setting back in March. So we haven't talked about strategic plan issues in light of this most current effort. I would say that the direction that was given to us to start on the public amenities master plan, or at least have a report back to council about the process for that going forward, is a strategic plan objective that had been suggested by the Harbor Commission on numerous occasions. Now, it's not listed as a strategic plan item here, but it is an item moving forward. I can't necessarily speak to the comment because it hasn't really been a topic of conversation within the Harbor Commission itself. I think Commissioner Carlson has put that comment forward as an individual, as opposed to representing the Harbor Commission itself. So, I mean, I know there's just generally, the Harbor Commission would like to move forward on some of the items that we haven't been able to move forward on yet. They're certainly interested in talking about Moonstone Park. They're certainly interested in talking about the boat ramp. They're certainly interested in re-engaging on the sport fishing conversations. But I think all of those things are things that need to be considered together. And I think as we think about how the parts all work together, the concept of perhaps a public amenities master plan, if there's funding to conduct those activities, would certainly start to address some of those concerns that have been expressed.
Well, I thought we needed a process for working with the community and the business owners on what the public amenities plan was going to look like, but we needed a process, a proper process, so that the Harbor Commission could, vet this and come back to us with exactly the input from them, from the public, from the business interests on how to prioritize the public amenities plan, whether it's the Seaside Lagoon or Moonstone Park. I mean, I already know there's $2.3 million. It's been sitting there for 10 years for Moonstone Park, or something like that, 8 years anyway, that there is funding for some of these things, but there's just not and I think that's the frustration, is that they don't see movement towards that direction. So, what's the next step for getting an amenities plan?
So the item that Councilmember Nierenheim has requested is for us to come back with what the process would be to start moving that forward. That is not something that's currently in our funded work plan for the year. It's going to involve some additional consultant work. And so our expectation was to reach out to the consulting community, talk to them about what it would take to prepare the master plan, bring that to you for your discussion and consideration, and then decide what the next steps forward for that planning effort would be. If that's something you want us to pursue right away, if that's something you want us to put into our 2021-2022 fiscal plan, so that's part of our contracts and professional services budget. I think for us to move forward with that planning process requires us to understand what that scope of work is and what the cost associated with that would be, since it's not currently in our fiscal year budget for this year.
And if I could add to that, Mayor, I think Stephen just touched on the key issue, which is scope, right? We have a number of public amenities in the waterfront that all need attention. We all understand that. Our capital plan is loaded with projects related to that, but it's really, and you pointed this out earlier, Mayor, it's where do these things go? How do they work together, and what do we prioritize as we move forward with our limited resources? And I think that we need to determine, as part of this initial discussion, which public amenities would we include in that master planning effort, and then most specifically, how do we go about completing that effort? Is that a staff-driven effort? Is that a consultant-driven effort? Is that a combination-driven effort? And then what is our community engagement process? Is that primarily Harbor Commission? Is that additional public input through community meetings, et cetera? So we need to start that conversation. This item will initiate those discussions, and really is the first step, I think, towards figuring out how we want to prioritize and locate all of those future improvements.
Are we having a Harbor Commission meeting next week?
No, we are not having one on December 14th. Their next meeting would be on January 14th.
So is this what's going to be talked about at their meeting then?
It's not currently scheduled to be on their calendar, because the first step is for you to give us some direction on how we want to move forward with a public amenities master plan. If there's not some sort of a process identified and some scope and funding that has been.
So what direction do you need from us tonight, or after this comes back to us, to get started on that?
You're going to give it to us as part of that item, Mayor.
That's part of that item. That's what that item will do. Your direction.
Yeah.
So then you will go to the Harbor Commission in January with that?
No, that's not our intent. Our intent is first to come to council with it, because the process for the plan itself will be largely a Harbor Commission driven process, but the authorization to move forward with the actual work effort, scope of work, and funding is really a city council decision.
Okay, and so when do you expect us to be able to make that decision? Not before the January Harbor Commission meeting, maybe by the February Harbor Commission meeting?
it'll depend on timing of the Harbor Commission we just exchanged emails on this with the chair and vice chair, and we made a determination not to meet on December 14th. So we are planning to meet at the next regularly scheduled meeting in January. And the question will simply be whether you've had this item before you in time to get it to the Harbor Commission, or whether it'll just be part of their February discussion if you've had a chance to discuss it in January.
Okay, so one or the other, January or
one or the other. That's correct. I mean, that's what I've talked about with the chair and the vice chair. One of the items that we were planning to discuss in December, which was really the focus, going to be the focus of the meeting, was to talk about the council's direction related to the mooring field and what activities were going to happen at the mooring field. And we've had to put that on hold while we're waiting for a few bits of information. So that will likely be the topic of our January meeting, and then our February meeting, as we've talked it over with the chair and the vice chair, would be depending on what direction you've given us related to the public amenities master plan. We would then have a subsequent discussion with the Harbor Commission about that.
Okay, and that discussion would probably be about scope and about process.
And process, et cetera. Exactly.
Okay, February at the latest. Well, I think that's where some of the frustration comes from is, while we say it's on the strategic plan, and I can see their point, they don't see it. So I think they need some reinforcement that yes, it is there, and that February at the latest, maybe January.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Councilmember Lowenstein.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. When I had suggested one of the points on here in terms of the first goal, which is pursue public infrastructure improvements, one of the things I did have in mind was the harbor. And so I don't want people to think that we're not addressing the harbor, but we just, I think what people are missing here is they're looking at things like PCIs above 75 and park improvements. Those are just examples. Those weren't necessarily the things we were going to focus on. So I want people to understand that things like dredging and things like Seaside Lagoon and moorings and everything else that's down at the waterfront, if people do decide, if we do decide to vote for that particular objective, then, we can drill down and look at the things that are in the harbor or other places that we want to put our emphasis on. So I don't want people to think that we're giving the harbor short shift, because we're not. It's just, I personally think that infrastructure is a really important thing, and with the amenities as well, I think we'll address it if people decide to vote for that particular item. So anyway, but I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Narenheim.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify when Stephen and Mike, when I made that motion, I didn't want to get it too complicated. I wanted to see a report basically on things that we can do right now, things that we needed to do, boat launch tram, things like that, Basin 3 public improvements that we can actually move forward on, things like that. I didn't want to overburden, overcomplicate. Then, we can decide that meeting where to send Harbor Commission for more input and kind of set that process moving forward. I didn't want to make it, like I said, too complicated. So, and that's part of this whole strategic plan is like, I don't, obviously funding and everything else along the way. So that was just my comments on that. If you guys want to ask me any questions or, Mike, I can sit down with you even further when we go over these items.
Yeah, and we understand that. And part of what we'll provide in that staff report are what's your options. I mean, is it as I said earlier, is it a staff-driven effort where we're compiling the list and simply gathering feedback from the Harbor Commission and the community and bringing it back to you and then prioritizing the items like we would a traditional capital project? Or are we actually trying to put together a more comprehensive landscape and infrastructure plan that really identifies where each of these amenities are going to go, what each of their scope and scale would eventually be, and then what the community's temperature is for each of those options. So the range is broad. This first item is really going to start that conversation and then have you begin to give us direction on, how we go about gathering that feedback and moving forward.
Okay. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, I make a motion to approve the the items here and send it to us via SurveyMonkey or whatever it is the staff deems usable.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Horvath, second by Councilmember Lowenstein. Any more discussion, comments? Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Grand.
Aye.
And Councilmember Emby.
Aye.
Okay, great. Joe, so you'll be sending us an email for how to participate.
Yes,
Okay,
quickly.
great. All right. Next up, item N3, discussion and possible action on possible preparation of a city resolution expressing support for actions that further strengthen local authority and control over zoning and housing matters. Joe, you want to explain it briefly and I'll chime in?
Sure. This item comes to you. It's really in keeping with the concerns that all of you have expressed and have been expressed by a number of cities about the erosion of local control based on actions of the state, especially in the areas of land use and housing. So what's before you tonight is a draft resolution or an approved resolution from the city of Beverly Hills that's been making the rounds. I don't have a listing of all the cities that have taken action on this. The mayor may have some supplemental information. This came to us late last week. Put together this report quickly. Basically, it emphasizes the importance of local control, that decisions related to land use and housing are best made at the local level, not at the state level when it comes to matters of local concern. And if the council is in agreement, we would turn this into a resolution, route it through the city attorney's office, back to you for action. And so it's before you tonight seeking that direction. I know the mayor's had some discussions additionally related to this, so those are kind of my high-level comments.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. And there's been a lot of, obviously, discussion about this all over the state. And there's been a lot of, call it grassroots, discussions from various council members all over the state. And particularly Mike Griffiths over in Torrance has been rallying cities to pass resolutions. And while we've sent numerous letters, pass resolutions, they're looking for a specific resolution like this to fall into line with the rest they're getting. And so the more, I guess, support we show with actual votes going to Sacramento, actual resolutions, we've had votes, but actual resolutions, it's really kind of a symbolic gesture. And just using Beverly Hills as an example, I think it's best we just direct staff to come back with our own, and then we can vote on it maybe next meeting. So that's kind of it. Everybody's very familiar with all this. Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I was contacted by Mike, Councilmember Griffiths from Torrance, as well as Amy Josephek on this. She had sent me another version from the city of Lawndale, which I guess is written a bit differently than the Beverly Hills one. So it might be good for us to evaluate the language in a variety of these if it's going to come back for us to make one that's, Redondo Beach specific. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, so I think that's kind of, we give you direction, Joe. Just kind of look at the one from Lawndale, look at the one from Beverly Hills, and maybe have some discussions with Councilmember Horvath and myself and whoever else, get a better idea of what exactly to bring back. So, Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out one of the newly elected city council members for Santa Monica, a gentleman named Phil Brock. He would like to reach out to you, Bill, to talk.
I spoke with him day before yesterday, John. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Great conversation, and he just got elected. Got elected with 2 other people, and you guys are going to enjoy it. Part of his platform was the way we described that we didn't want to become like Santa Monica when we were campaigning for Measure C. It was pretty interesting. So he said, and on one hand, I don't appreciate you using us as an example. On the other hand, I do, because I used it to illustrate to our residents what others think of us. It's kind of.
They're looking at something, or he wants to look at something similar to this. I just want to make sure you reach out to him. Great. Good. Glad to hear you connected.
Yeah, no, thank you. Councilmember Nairnut.
I just wanted to throw in here, Beverly Hills is not a charter city to general law. I believe Torrance is a charter city. I don't know what Lawndale is. I don't want to, I don't want to mess this letter up too much. I like consistency throughout the state and other places. If the flavor necessarily does matter, I know technically speaking, it really does matter. If, I see Mr. Webb has put his light on. So, yeah.
Oh, and that's why I was going to ask, do you want us to maybe add some of our specific concerns about charter cities?
Yes.
For example, the bill that would allow for an ordinance to be passed in violation of a city charter that prohibits such zoning. That's obviously a big concern to our voters, all the areas in which the state is trying to take over control. So if the council direction is that, I'll look at the two different sections and we'll try and add some specific flavor of our concern being a charter city.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was SB 902, Mike, and there was tremendous opposition, and the author ended up removing it right before it went before the Assembly subcommittee or whatever it was. Committee on housing or government, housing on local government. He ended up removing that, but yeah, that's absolutely the type of paragraph we should add.
Well, Lester Friedman here.
Okay. Is there any public comments on this?
Well, there's Alan Stanford is trying to get in, but I think he's having a.
I think Alan Stanford was wanting to talk about the CDBG stuff.
Oh. He said M2. Oh, you're right. He wanted to talk about. He hasn't gotten through at this point.
Okay. I think he's good.
I'll point out to everybody's listening that the county of Los Angeles has issued, I think, how much is it?
$30 million.
$30 million towards restaurants during this COVID crisis. So it's open now. It's up on my Facebook page. You can write. I guess you can just write me if you want to, bill.brand@redondo.org, but it's going to spread around and you'll see it. And people like Alan Sanford are going to want to see the opportunity to apply for some of that grant money from the county. And it's a new program, brand new program that obviously will get a lot of attention. So let's hope some of our Redondo restaurants get it. Anyway, let's see.
Okay, so there's no e-comments and no Zoom at this point.
Okay, I guess you need a motion just to direct staff to come back with a.
I'll make a motion to direct staff to fill out this letter and direct the city attorney's office to add the flavor of city charter cities and come back to us for approval.
Prepare a resolution.
Prepare a resolution.
All this stuff.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
Do we need a date for you?
Is the 15th okay?
15th is fine by me.
Good.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second? I didn't hear. I'm sorry.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Lowenstein?
Yes.
Okay. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Nierenheim?
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein? Councilmember Lowenstein?
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath?
Aye.
Councilmember Gran?
Aye.
And Councilmember MD?
Aye.
Okay, great. Moving right along to item 01, discussion and possible action regarding the city's local emergency pertaining to COVID-19. City Manager Joe Hefkin.
Yes, we've touched on this quite a bit tonight and pretty much every meeting since the COVID pandemic began earlier this year. This item's on your agenda really as a placeholder. We have this item was placed on the agenda really before the most recent public health order was issued by LA County. There's been obviously some disturbing trends throughout the state and in LA County in particular related to the spread of COVID-19. As confirmed by the LA County Board of Supervisors, There's significantly tightened restrictions that have gone into effect. That action was ratified by the County Board of Supervisors on November 24th. It took effect yesterday in terms of banning outdoor dining at restaurants. Restaurants can now, as you're well aware, only provide service on a to-go or delivery basis. From a city standpoint, what the effect is on our public spaces, separate and apart from the restrictions on restaurants, is that our public playgrounds are required to be closed throughout LA County. So we have posted signs at each of our playgrounds. We've put caution tape up. We haven't gone so far as to fence them in with chain link fencing or something more restrictive. A few cities have done that. We've not opted to go that direction. This new public health order is to be in effect for a minimum of 3 weeks. It goes until December 20th of this year. In addition to the two items that I just spoke of, the public health order does a few other things. It asks individuals to remain in their homes and with their immediate households as much as possible. So again, kind of emphasizing that safer at home, reduce mingling with others not in your household, requiring everyone to wear a face covering, whether they're engaging in activities outside their homes, where they are or can be in contact with others not in their households. So pretty strong language from the county related to face coverings, reducing capacity at sites where non-household members mingle to avoid crowding. In terms of maximum occupancy, it's been reduced in essential retail establishments to 35% maximum occupancy. For non-essential retail, including indoor malls, 20% maximum occupancy. Personal care services, 20% maximum occupancy. Fitness centers operating outdoors, reduced to 50% maximum occupancy. Museums, galleries, zoos, aquariums, a few other uses like that, 50% maximum occupancy. In terms of Redondo Beach specifically, we have 928 confirmed cases in Redondo Beach currently. When we look at that, still a significant number, but by comparison, when it's done on a per capita basis, slightly less than some of our surrounding cities. Still disturbing trends. We have this item on the agenda really for your information, and if there's any additional action you'd like us to take from a city standpoint, you'll remember that our prior actions really focused on the public places, spaces that we control. So this is not an order that shuts down the beaches, shuts down the parks, shuts down the dog park, or puts in place a lot of those most restrictive closures that were in place in the early months of the pandemic. But unfortunately, we're also hearing that there is the very real potential for action on a statewide basis to further restrict activities to limit the spread. So, with that, I'll turn it back to the mayor and council for your comments.
Thank you, Joe. Councilmember Horvath.
Yeah, I just want to say we haven't taken a really heavy-handed approach here locally. We've talked about stuff, but if I could just say one thing, like, stuff's getting worse. Cases today are at 7,593. That's almost 3,000 more than what they've been reported in over the past week. Typically, they were in the 4,000s. We've passed the peak of hospitalizations that the county saw previously. So this is headed in the wrong direction. And I heard, just walking the dog around the neighborhood over the past month, I saw people having parties for Halloween. I heard people having parties for Thanksgiving. We've been lucky, I think, in the South Bay. I think, we've complained a lot, and, our meeting last night was about, trying to carve out the South Bay because we have lower numbers and stuff. But the reality is it is happening more in areas that experience more poverty and low income individuals, but that does not make us immune to the effects of this. Everybody works in different places, travels in different, it could be here at any time. And having the same effects on us. So I just, to the public out there, just be safe, be smart, be healthy, wear your mask, stay 6 feet apart, try to limit your interactions, when going out for essential activities. I don't think we're about to get any better here. I think by the time we're having our December 15th meeting, I have a feeling it's going to be much worse. So that's all.
Well, that's a huge number. 7,000 and what, Christian?
7,593 today.
Yeah. And they were worried about 4,500 a few days ago. So I just couldn't agree more with Councilmember Horvath over this issue. The pandemic is what matters right now. There's vaccines around the corner. We want to minimize hospitalizations and deaths until we can get the vaccine and get get enough people vaccinated and comfortable with getting our lives back. And I think, the sooner we pay attention, follow the rules, the sooner we'll get there. I've been saying that for 10 months, and I still have people telling me they're tired of hearing that. And yet here we are, probably the worst country in the world now with cases, and it's just sad, really, in my view, that we haven't been able to get a handle on this. And I do think we've been somewhat lucky in the South Bay, although I just got a text again from the CEO of the Little Company Mary Hospital that they've opened up their special center now, that there are well over 50 cases, and they have opened up their COVID command center. So they're gearing up for a mess, and doesn't mean they aren't prepared, but why should we be taking unnecessary risks and people having to go to the hospital just because we want to party through these particular holidays? It's just, people need to rethink and know that there is an end to this, and it's not far away, but that we don't want to increase the casualties to all this. And we've all heard the stories, we're all seeing the numbers. I'm just encouraging people to pay close attention. The one issue we may want to take a vote on, the county, the Avenue C stairs. Sorry about the Avenue C stairs. They're county stairs. They're a very popular exercise amenity. I use them myself, go up and down for years. I've been going up and down the Avenue C stairs. They're long. They're a great workout. They're extremely crowded on the weekend. People going up and down on Saturdays and Sunday mornings, and even during the week in the afternoons after work. And everybody's huffing and puffing and breathing all over each other, especially if there's no wind. It just seems like a petri dish to me. The county opened them and then they reclosed them. And I think it's up to us as a city to either take a vote to say, yes, keep them closed, or no, we'd like them open, because I think they will open them if we vote to ask them to reopen them or vote to close them. So I don't know how many of you guys have ever run the stairs at Avenue C. I'm trying to describe it as best I can. It's a great place to work out. It's a lot of fun. It's also exactly where people aren't just breathing heavily. They're getting their heart rate up on purpose, and they're passing each other and bumping into each other and sharing the handrail and everything else. So my opinion is we should close them, and we should take a vote to close them and make it clear to the public that until people have a vaccine and we're back to normal, places like that, really, the rest of the beach is open. The other stairs are open. That's just a huge attraction. And to me, it's something we ought to be removing. So it'd be good as part of the motion of accepting these to add that to our or to leave them open, or to open them. If you guys think we should keep them open, then somebody should make the motion to see. We need to send a message to the county one way or the other. So
why do we have to send a message?
Well, we don't. I guess we could just leave it. They closed them, and I'm getting complaints, and they want us to ask them to open them. So I'd be nice to be able to tell them that the city council made the motion to open them and they refused, or we made the motion to close them and they kept them closed. Or we do nothing. I mean, like, we don't have to do anything. We just do nothing. So I think it's up to us to decide whether we do anything, and if we do anything, what action we take. So I'll leave it at that. Councilmember Nerna.
I mean, the stairs were closed for a longer period of time, not because of COVID, but because a video went viral and got really popular, and there were copycats. It wasn't because of the COVID issue.
Oh, it was closed because of COVID. I promise.
Well,
that.
It was
for a while because of that bike incident, but then they had it closed for months because of COVID.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's just leave it up to the county to deal with. Is my opinion. Regarding there's no outdoor dining happening right now, but is there? My concern with this COVID issue and the way we're closing everything down is we're intrinsically telling people, okay, don't meet publicly outside, but yet we're going to keep certain public places open. People were able to go to the beach perfectly fine all summer long. It was more full, more packed along our South Bay beaches than I've ever seen, period, bar none. And in fact, our rates of COVID in the South Bay were the lowest, bar none. And so my concern is as we start shutting down these outside areas, we're forcing people to go indoors. And that's where the transmission is happening. There's study after study that's showing this over and over again. I went to the store just yesterday and I didn't find it was essential. I just walked by, looked inside, and it was packed full of shoppers. And I couldn't believe it. But, retail's not my point here. My point here is Joe or Mike, regarding the garden parkettes in the village, if there's tables left out, there's no delivery, there's no waiters, there's no waitresses working there. People are allowed to eat there in the public. I mean, they're allowed to eat on the sidewalk, right? Joe?
In terms of if someone takes food to go and they decide to sit on the sidewalk and consume it, we're not going to go out there to take action to stop them.
It's not illegal.
We're not going to, right? It's not illegal. However, the clear intent of the county order is that outdoor dining at restaurants not be allowed. And that's a little more difficult if individuals are buying food, sitting there in the public right-of-way, using tables that are there, chairs that are there. We haven't studied that, but that's clearly not the intent to allow that of the county order. Again, that's not our order, that's the county's order. I'm
looking at the situation and saying, if somebody buys a bunch of food and goes down to the beach and consumes it at the beach, there's no county order to prevent that. It's public space. We have benches on the sidewalk of the Esplanade. I've seen people eating there and walking, obviously there's people walking through. As far as I understood, the consumption of food or dining was prohibited during the last shutdown order on premises. We don't control, Ted, I see you there. We don't control, or they don't control the garden parkettes. We control that, correct?
No, we don't. Councilmember, those garden parkettes were approved to the Riviera Village Association as an extension for the outdoor dining of the restaurants in the village and some of the retail shops. So they are only approved to the association for that purpose. They are, as part of their permit, they're also required to comply with all state, county, and city regulations as it comes to COVID compliance. And with the county order today, closing any outdoor dining, that area should be closed, and it is under the control of the Riviera Village Association.
I mean, do we need to transfer that responsibility back to us? Since it's in public right away and they're not using it?
That responsibility, so long as the parklets are there, they are under the responsibility of the Riviera Village Association. Until which time they have removed them and we've come back to a normal street, then it comes back, it reverts back to the city. But so long as those parklets are there, they're under the permit for the RVA.
Okay. And if there's tables and if they just sit on that wood there, I mean, okay. So the restaurateurs are not the ones controlling that space. It's the Riviera bid that's controlling the space. I want to be clear on that, right?
Well, the Riviera Village Association is whom we have permitted to allow them to utilize them with the restaurants. The RVA, from my understanding, has a separate agreement with the restaurants on the use and the implementation of the parklets themselves. What that agreement language is like, I think that's something more for Jeff to be able to articulate better on. But from our perspective as a city, the responsibility lies with the Riviera Village Association.
Okay, so they can amend okay. Okay, that's all the questions I have for now.
Okay. I don't see any other hands. Any public comment?
We have, let's see, one for, I guess, Jeff Ginsburg.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go, Jeff.
Hi there. I heard the Riviera Village came up again, so just wanted to jump in. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of an awkward thing because right now when people are leaving a restaurant with their to-go food, I mean, they're sitting on the curb, they're sitting in benches. I don't know where the line is drawn with regards to, I mean, are they, I mean, that's public area kind of thing. So, I mean, to what degree do we enforce, you know, provisions and stuff there, or it does, I mean, it's just an awkward position is all I'm saying.
Yeah, I mean, Jeff, so I've been down there and I'm seeing people like exactly like you said. I don't find it safe, people sitting on the curb, park benches, the Esplanade benches. I mean, they're in some confined areas on public spaces now, in public areas, and, you know, standing very close to each other. That to me is an issue. So you guys can control what Mr. Saman here just indicated. You guys can control the spacing and ability for people just to sit there. I saw that in Hermosa. The tables are gone, but people can distance further away outside on those parquettes. So I want to get people away from the side, from the corners and sidewalks, and sitting down on sidewalks and sitting down on the Esplanade, and get them into more open, spacious, breathable area where they're not transmitting, and definitely not indoors. I definitely don't want to be seeing people taking food and taking groups and going indoors to their homes. That to me is a big issue. So that's where I stand on it. I think you guys, Jeff, can deal with that individually.
Yeah. Well, one of the, I guess we need some very clear clarification from the city with regards to, because the tables the restaurants have out, I know that some restaurants have taken their tables in and some have left them out there. And since the tables are socially distanced, I mean, just where do we draw the line with it kind of thing? Because the restaurants are regulating it if people are at the tables. If we just let people do what they freedom want to do, they're going to be sitting on the edges of those walls with traffic going by and eating up there on curbs. And I just think there's a far greater danger, people being in places of unintended sitting versus a intended location, even though table service is not provided.
Right. So my point to you is, if you guys take back over control, take it away from restaurants, it's not an area the restaurants control. You can now make sure any spacing is more than 6 feet, 10 feet away, and provide the ability for people, and again, make sure there's no, I don't think the restaurant's doing this anyways, I didn't see it happening, delivery or ordering with serving and delivering of food in this space.
Well, the issue is that the RVA is not really in a position to police the parklets on its own. That's why we have the agreements with the restaurants of complying with the rules and all that kind of stuff. That the review, we have 3 of the board members are what we call the review committee, and they more or less oversee if there are any violations of the rules or whatever it is, kind of thing. And I mean, it's like I said, it's an awkward situation. If we tell the restaurants to all pull their tables from there, then the public is going to sit in riskier situation than if they were sitting at tables that are regulated by the restaurants, separated. So I mean, it's
Jeff, I think the answer here is what was intended in the first place, which was further reduce that capacity. What we're looking for is to make sure that there's not massive crowds, that there's not confined spaces, that people are not close, because that's what I see happening now. The intent here is to ensure that people are spread apart, far apart in a safe manner, and not, in large groups or different types of multiple different types of households.
Right. No, I understand that, but what I'm saying is that what's the city's position with what is considered proper?
It's not the city; it's the health department.
Okay. I mean, the funny thing with the health department is that you have one inspector that says one thing, and then you have another inspector that comes there and says something completely different. Because these things keep changing every couple of weeks.
It's not the city; it's the health department. Yeah.
I mean, it's just an awkward situation because there's no perfect scenario for it. If we remove all the tables, then we're putting the public in a situation where they have to sit in a not as safe of an environment as if they were sitting at tables, with intended chairs, as opposed to sitting, like I said, they're sitting on curbs. They're throwing their trash all over the place because there's no place for them to take the trash. I know Ted was down there the other day, and it was a nightmare with all the trash that was out there because all the to-go stuff, instead of the restaurants, assisting with the dishware and all that stuff, everyone's throwing their trash all over the place.
Well, look, Jeff, all these hassles are part of why the mayors in the South Bay are talking about forming their own health department. So, all these hassles. And there's more, and we don't have time to go through them all. There's a lot of things that we don't control. We've written letters. All the mayors got together, wrote a letter to Gavin Newsom, got together, wrote a letter to the county health department, wrote a letter to the county board of supervisors. The COG's writing a letter. Everybody's doing all this stuff. And maybe if we form our own health department, when we have another pandemic, we'll be able to, segregate ourselves from being included in the entire county of Los Angeles and their 10 million residents. So that's what some of us are working on, but it isn't going to help right now. And we're not in control of what you're complaining about, unfortunately.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry to jump in there like that. Oh,
no problem. And you might want to go look, it's posted on my Facebook page where restaurants can apply for grants from the county to help them.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we have a couple e-comments. Go ahead, Vicki.
Okay, first comment is submitted by Joseph Schwar. Honorable Mayor and council members, the city's suspension of street cleaning this past spring/summer addressed what otherwise would have been a severe lack of parking at those times,
as residents started home from work under emergency orders. This meeting is still being held remotely under such an order. Los Angeles County just issued another such order. It looks to me like the number of parking space available during street cleaning periods is declining again. Could the city suspend street cleaning once again, at least through the holidays? Alternatively, would the city please consider sweeping less often, first Tuesday each month rather than every Tuesday, e.g., or at least initiate a study? Thank you for your consideration. Joseph Schwar, Avenue G. The second comment is submitted by Lee Kohler. It was extremely troubling to see the LA County Department of Public Health ban outside dining in Redondo Beach, despite the lack of any evidence showing that outside dining has been a cause of the recent COVID-19 spike. The LA CDBG has been a complete failure during this crisis, putting out conflicting guidance, imposing unconstitutional mandates, and not understanding basic human behavior. Imposing a ban on human interaction for months is eventually going to be ignored, as evidenced by our own governor's behavior. It is time to consider a separate health department for the beach cities. Perhaps we should study forming our own county. That concludes the comments under 01.
Okay, well, I think I just talked about that last part. But yeah, there's, the vote of the supervisors was 3-2. So it was not a unanimous vote. And as Jeff Ginsburg pointed out, there is now a new county supervisor sworn in, Holly Mitchell, soon, who'll be taking over for somebody who voted to ban outside dining. But yeah, anyway, the optics of all this are not getting better with 7,500 new cases a day now. So, this is very serious, folks. I mean, we want to get opened and everything, but what's going on in our hospitals is no joke, not just to be ignored because we want to open everything up. So that's my opinion anyway. So any other, let me see here, Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. When Mr. Ginsburg and Mr. Nierenheim were talking about the issues and the tables and whatnot, I think there's two things that are missing here. First, and I think Mr. Hefkin actually mentioned this, it's the restaurant that bears the responsibility for abiding by these guidelines, and they're the ones that are risked getting closed even further than just takeout if they don't abide by them. So, when you're trying to find places for people to sit down and you're trying to accommodate someone who wants to go sit on a curb and eat something, that goes to the second point, which is the reason that this is put in place is so that people go home. You pick up your food, you go home. That's really what they're asking you to do, or that's the safest place to be. And that's why it's a safer at home or stay at home order. And try not to lose that just because you're going to go pick up food is kind of the issue here. This is my personal belief, but I believe that the reason that they're doing this dining piece is to get everyone's attention. We've kind of gone through 9 months of this where we're shutting down this piece here and we're taking down gyms and we're doing all those things. And I believe what they probably found out was that the restaurants have the biggest impact on everyone's day to day. And if I go and I want to go sit and I want to be close to somebody, I'm going to go out and I'm going to walk to all these different shops. I'm going to do all these different things. I'm going to be out and about. And I think what they're really trying to do is to control 11 million people in a county and getting the biggest value for what they're having to do, which is a hard call to say, get your food and go home. And that's really what I believe the essence of this is, and that's to protect people. And again, we have to remember, it isn't just Redondo Beach. We can say, hey, we're doing great. We look at Hermosa Beach and Torrance and Manhattan, everyone, and we go, hey, we're doing great down here. But the county has to take care of just shy of 11 million people. And that's bigger than most states in our nation. So just kind of keep that in mind when we're talking about this. It's not about trying to get around the rules. It's trying to say, how can we keep these businesses alive? How can we keep people employed as best we can? How can we get through this? Let's get to December 20th, see what happens, and then hopefully it doesn't get extended. But I think you're exactly right. 7,500 or 7,600 new cases in a day, go home. It's the safest place. So just my 2 cents.
Okay, Council Member Horvath.
Yeah, I raised my hand during the back and forth between Mr. Ginsburg and Councilmember Narenheim, and I was just going to say, just cordon off the parklets during this time. The RVA cannot police this. I know that they have expended the time, energy, and money, but they can't be out there telling people to get out. You just have to block off entrance to those areas. And to John's point, the point of takeout food is to take it out and go home. So if people are sitting on the sidewalks, there's really nothing we can do about that, but you wouldn't catch me sitting on a sidewalk right now. So just cordon them off. That way they're closed. The restaurants can remove the tables. There's got to be something they can do, but they're not going to police it.
Well, a lot of places they just turn the tables over, or bring them inside, or stack them up. And there's always the curb, and people will do that. And there's people who just still, frankly, don't even believe this. And so I don't know how you deal with that. It's a tough situation. You've got people who just refuse to believe that this is even a problem. I'll read what somebody wrote. This was a guy I grew up with in high school who I thought was smart. I'm rethinking it now, but it's amazing what people still think to this day about this pandemic, that it's all still a hoax, and people need to get over that. Let me just read the quote. This is after I posted the latest numbers from the hospital, where it showed it climbing and gone up 5 times in 2 weeks. He says, "Bill, get over it. There is no virus. It is all a hoax to control our freedom, and you have been sucked into it, along with everyone that believes this." So there you go. Yeah, he'll be eating on the curb, I guess, or bringing his own table, or just people who don't believe it. And I think it's incumbent upon all of us to look out for ourselves. At some point, be very careful, and don't expect to be able to, get everybody on board. But be careful yourselves. Anyway, is there a motion to do anything? Do we need a motion, Joe, or is there any more public comment?
No, this was just an informational report. If there's specific direction you want to provide us, certainly open, but no action required.
Okay. Seeing no hands up.
There is no additional public comment either, sir.
Okay, thank you. We'll move along then. On item P1, discussion, consideration, provide direction regarding amendments to the Redondo Beach Municipal Code regarding lot consolidations. So I guess we're going to have Mike Webb lead this. Mike.
Well, actually, I think Cheryl Park was, but this was a council item that you asked to bring back at the end of November. We brought it back in December because we were still looking for an elusive staff report that might give more of the reasoning behind the council passing this. City records do not have that staff report, so we have a brief mention in the minutes. The approximately 6 months before, they did a reworking of that ordinance, and then they added the language that was at question in your hearing, that you felt it was too vague. They added that language, and so we're looking for direction as to any ways that you want to make it give less discretion to future councils, and be more specific about under what circumstances where you would allow this to go forward. Cheryl, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't.
May I point out that you missed the end of November by 1 day, so I think that's okay.
Well, yeah, what do we do about that?
You can, never mind. It's
yeah.
Too late. But anyways, we were looking for it because we really hoped the staff report would say, okay, here's why we're making that change after 6 months. And they didn't, just the city records don't have it. So.
Okay. Councilmember MD.
Just help me walk through it so we can try to piece it together. It was the development on 190th Street, and Mr. Strutzenberg was getting angry with Jennifer Glad, the commissioner then, and told her to silence herself because she didn't. They were having an argument over this particular reading, in which she said she was explaining it to him how she was interpreting it, and he interpreted it a different way. And so, in order to avoid any kind of future disagreement, we wanted that to be clarified. And so, as to put any language in there that would not make it vague. And I think that was the main point of that conversation, and what we wanted that to be done.
And so we gave you choices in the last paragraph in the body of the staff report as to types of items you may wish to include in there. And so it's more specific as to the circumstances in which a future council can approve that.
Okay, well, so they need specific direction if we're going to do something. I don't know if anybody's really drilled down on this and feels comfortable giving specific direction.
Yeah, we can continue it. It's just we wanted to bring it to you. We can talk offline as to what sort of specifics, how much you want to limit discretion. Do you want it only to be when certain items exist? It was written apparently to give maximum flexibility to a council, but it may be, better to continue it. There's no urgency on our end.
Anything else, Laura?
Well, that was the argument, is that I agree with you, that it was written in order to give people maximum, discretion on that. And Mr. Strutzenberg was arguing that it was specifically saying it was against it. And so that was really my whole thing on supporting it, was that I wanted to make sure that it was that it wasn't written in a way that would open that argument that we're actually trying to be specific and eliminating something or putting something in, because what might apply to one project won't apply to the other. And I would rather have some flexibility, but I will drill down on it offline with you, and we can go from there. I agree with the mayor. Let's do that. Let's drill down on it offline.
Okay, Councilmember Alonso.
Yeah, I think I also asked for it to be brought back because of, it just seemed very unclear at the time. I couldn't understand what the council was trying to do with that particular code section. When you say things like unusual location of lots, that seems kind of subjective rather than objective, right? And, harmony and consistency of development, again, there's some degree of subjectiveness there versus objectiveness, but if you can find the staff report to clarify it, I think you're still looking for it, right? You said.
No, we've given up hope. The clerk's office has informed us that they've looked everywhere that they could go to find it. So
it might be interesting if this would be subjective in itself. But if we knew who was on the council at that time, maybe we could jog their memory and ask them why they decided to do that.
Well, if you want us to, we do know who's on there because it's in the minutes, and we can certainly reach out to them. I would ask that you bring it back after the new year so we have an opportunity to do that.
Bob Penzler being one of them, I believe.
People have different memories of actions that occurred years before, but I think it could be very instructive to find out what they were, all thinking. I'll also reach out to, I believe it was Randy Burler.
He's around still.
Yeah,
he's still doing stuff around the area.
I think he would be best situated toward why did they write it that way. So
he'd be the ideal person to ask.
Yep. With more time, we can do that, but ultimately, it's up to you. Which objective criteria do you want to put in? And if it's objective, you have you and future councils have less discretion.
Yeah.
It could be a good thing because it's very clear when it applies.
People know, the developers know, you know, what's allowed and what's not. So, yeah. Okay, I'd be up for that. That'd be fine. Thank you.
Continue to January, then certainly we'd have time to reach out to that next level and see what memories people have. And certainly Randy Burler will be the first call we make.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councilmember Newton.
So, I mean, I'm not necessarily in favor of reaching out to those individuals who created this. And the reason why is because when they created this, they might have had one intent, but since then it's been used or misused or abused, however you want to look at it, to go down to a totally different way. And one of the reasons why we brought this up was because there was different interpretations of how lot line adjustments can happen and why they happen. And specifically it says, 2 or more lots may be combined only when all the requirements of sections B, 1, 2, and 3 are satisfied. And then it goes on further to do some more descriptions. And then, you know, so, and in C, there was, you know, unusual lot size, shape, topography. Well, what is unusual shape, topography, things like that? That was really the issue here on a project that, you know, kind of didn't really, or in District 5s and 4s and up there, from what I've heard, this has been used to combine certain lots in ways that it really wasn't meant to be, and people weren't happy with the way it was going. So this is a very to me, it's a very dangerous section because it adds a lot of power to a person owning all these lots. And takes away the ability of planning commission and council to say, hey, wait a second here. We want to make sure we have entrance and exits ways on certain streets. So I'm more happy to bring it back so we can drill down more on it. But my opinion is to, you know, make it more succinct and simple and clean up, and to more extreme reasons as to why we need a lot line combinations or combining of lots, for instance, if you know you don't have access to a street or alleyway, or an alleyway is not feasible enough to give access to the full property entirely, you need street access as well. So those are my thoughts right there on that. Mike, you have your, Mr. Webb, you have your.
No, I was just going to say, you know, the problem is that B1, 3 is the exception that swallows the whole.
Right.
That's why it was apparent that the intent was to give great discretion to the council, and the council has great discretion to find what the unique circumstances are. The problem with that is you can have inconsistent results depending on, who's on the council, who's judging it, who's on the planning commission, who's judging it. And we don't need to do further research if there are specifics that the council is looking for that you found this old ordinance wanting from your experience in applying it. And so, certainly we can do it either way. We can reach out to find out what they were thinking, or we can just leave it to you, and we can talk offline as to, if you have ways that you want to make it more specific, we can certainly come up with language. We had suggestions down in the last paragraph as to ways to do it, but if you really want to dial into specific circumstances, that helps you in terms of having discretion. It does conflict with Councilwoman MD's point earlier that these lots are all a little bit different, and what is unusual circumstances or unique circumstances vary from site to site. So either way is fine with us, or we can find out the direction, and that may give you some, or the intention, and that may give you some ideas as to how to tighten it up.
Okay.
Anything else?
I'll make a motion after we hear some public comment and anything else.
Okay, Councilmember Grant. Councilmember Grant.
Thank you. So I'm going to make a motion just to, let's bring it back. Let's do as much research as possible and have a couple of options. And I think that each one of us, if we care to, let's dive in and work with Mr. Webb and Ms. Park to actually go through this and make some suggestions, and then we'll come up with something and see if we can tighten it up or leave it loose as it is. But let's have that discussion and get what they were thinking about and why they put it that way. I think that only helps. So that's my motion.
Cheryl Park, you had a comment?
Yes, I just pulled up the minutes, and I just want to share that this amendment was part of a bigger amendment to the actual code. So that this was like a small portion. They did amendments to the zoning ordinance and general plan regarding mixed use overlay. They did consider the lot combinations, but they also considered setbacks, parking requirements, signs, administrative design review, and there's some other cleanup language that they considered, and outdoor dining and mixed use overlay. So we can reach out, obviously, pursuant to your direction, to the council members who were involved, but I don't, and Randy Burler, but I just wanted to highlight that. I don't know how much they'll remember from their discussion of this, since it was part of a larger amendment.
Yeah, I think Randy would be the best chance because they added that C, that C section in that cleanup bill about 6 months before. And I think there's something that Randy said in the minutes about, okay, we're changing it, we're amending it based on what we've learned in the 6 months. And so hopefully he would be the best person, since he was in charge of the department, to realize, okay, what did you learn in 6 months that led you to put that C section in, which is the exception that kind of swallows the whole.
Okay. Any comments from the public?
Yes. Okay, I don't see any in Zoom, but we have one for e-comment. Vicki?
Matthew Hensley submits, good evening, Mayor and City Council. As the code is currently written, it allows combining multiple lots when one or more meet the listed requirements. An example is if a whole block of R3 has one lot at the end that meets all the unique requirements, then as many adjoining lots as desired can be combined together, even if those other remaining lots are quote unquote normal lots. I believe adding language such as section 10-2.514B, permitted lot combinations, 2 or more lots may be combined, 2 permitted lot combinations, 2, number 2, or more of the lots that meet all the requirements may be combined. This would only allow combination of the defective lots to make them usable, but would not allow joining of lots if only one lot is unique, as is the code now. Additionally, consider changing 10-2.514B 1C to clarify what is unusual size. The Foundry project showed that subjective, quote unquote, achieve an improved development more consistent with the character of development in the neighborhood, closed quote, is difficult to clearly justify and open to too broad of an interpretation. Please consider revisions to improve the clarity and improve to maintain the intention of the code while making it more clear and more specific. That includes public comment. Oh, and there actually is something in the Zoom, it appears.
Oh, yes, okay. Holly Osborne?
Am I unmuted?
Yep. No, we can hear you.
Okay, yes. I remember Aaron Jones saying once that it was illegal to combine 2 R2 lots for the sole purpose of getting to build 5 on the combined. Because right now an R2 lot in North Redondo, you build 2 houses. And if you have 2 next to each other, then you have 2 on each. But if you combined them, technically, you have the square footage to build 5, not 4. But he said they made a rule that you cannot combine them for the purpose of upzoning. So that's what I remember.
Okay.
Or more 5 on lots if you combine 2.
Is is Brandy there? Brandy, is that, I mean, what they're essentially driving at is gross, right, is gross lot lines or gross adjustments, gross lot size, excuse me. And then from there you back away how many units you can buy, you can build. Is it's enforceable what she's saying? Or do we need to clean that up in there in this language? Because I'm worried about that we're gonna have super high densities.
Yeah, I'm not, like, that is, it would be calculated on what the size of the lot is. That being said, let me just see with this the 514, what the zoning was for that. I'm trying to, Mike, or Cheryl, do you?
And I can jump in here. There is a parenthetical in the B section that says this subsection is not intended to permit the combination of two or more typical or standard size lots or to permit development of a mass and scale inconsistent with the character of the neighborhood. And from my reading of the minutes, this was inserted after there was some discussion from between Randy and a council member confirming that this is not a situation where you're going to have two, exact same lot size lots and you're going to combine them to create this big, huge mega mansion or something like that. And that might be what Holly Osborne was referring to, the comment that I think it was Erin Jones that she referenced.
Right. I just to be clear, this is the R3, whereas R2 does have different standards.
And none of these would allow. I want to make sure that when we update this, we don't allow, and we are being clear, we don't allow already and moving forward. The gross issue, you adding 2,490 square foot lots, and now all of a sudden you get 8,000. All of a sudden now you get 3 units instead of 2, or a bonus unit, so to speak. That would not allow any of this from happening.
Yeah, I think that's what Cheryl's addressing.
Okay.
So to be clear, we'll want to make sure that we're checking all the whatever comes of this. If there is going to be a change, we'll want to make sure that any other of the zones that have this language in there also have that correction.
Yeah, and I believe it's R2, R3, and then there's another zone like high density. There's another section. So it's been populated within the R2 zone and the R3 zone, the different R2 and R3 zones, and an RH zone is what I found. But yes, we can come back with a more thorough outline of all the sections that are impacted.
Okay.
Yeah, and to your question, Councilman Narenheim, it where it mentions the where it's not intended, it says or to permit developments of a mass and scale inconsistent with the character of the neighborhood. So the point there is exactly what Holly's talking about. So this is not intended to allow for greater number of units because you combine the lots.
But that, okay, I just want to make sure that covers if in case somebody, if you're an R3 neighborhood and you get an extra unit, you can't just say, oh, well, it's still the same. The density is essentially density of units there on that total space is what controls the amount of units. Does that make sense to you?
I understand what you're saying. I think to that point of the combination of 2 or more typical or standard size lots to permit developments of a mass and scale inconsistent, like that, that is not the intent. So that would not be, if there are 2 lots that are of typical or standard size, they would not be able to be combined for that density, added density.
But that's not what this particular issue here on this is 2 lots that are what's the exact verbiage of non-standard. What is it here? unique and unusual lot size. That's my worry, is the unusual lot size.
And that's, where, I can let you know what my interpretation is at the moment, but that's, I think, where this whole question or concern has come up is, you had all the planning commissioners and one commissioner interpreted it one way and the other commissioners interpreted it a different way. So that's, I think, why we're here is this conversation.
The lawyer on the other side, actually, most specifically. All right, I'm good.
And a way to address that might be when we come back, we can go through, and I can work with Brandy on this, but go through what an unusual lot size would look like as far as in our city, because there are a lot of cities that have different shaped lots that wouldn't be standalone developable, a standalone parcel that you can develop, but so we can go through those with.
Okay, and the motion right now covers that, so we can come back and be very specific and clean this up. So.
And you can make it where it's not, unusual circumstances such as it can be unusual circumstances limited to the following. And that you risk running the opposite problem. That it's too restrictive, but that solves your concern.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
Mary, I don't know if Holly still wants to, do you want me to go ahead and?
Well, let her talk if she wants to.
Okay. Go ahead, Holly.
I'm done.
Oh, you were done. Okay, great, because your hand was still, okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any more public comment?
That was it.
Okay, is there a motion? I don't remember hearing a motion.
Yes.
What was the motion?
You did, John.
Sorry. Motion to bring this back in January, reach out and get as much information as possible from folks that might have been writing us, and then have each of us work with Mr. Webb and Ms. Park to do our best to chime in. So.
Okay, and who seconded that?
No one yet. I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Councilmember Grand, seconded by Councilmember Lowenstein. I'll do a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein. Aye. Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Grand.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Okay, so we'll revisit this in January. All right. P2, discussion and consideration of mayor's appointments to fill vacancies on various city boards and commissions. I'll just say there were several openings. I went back, looked at the tape, looked at all the old applications, called people. It was great that, I was able to go back and give some appointments to people I wasn't able to appoint last go around. So, yeah, it was nice that we had a lot of people move out of town and for other reasons moved to other commissions. So it created all these holes. And so I think I filled them all. I don't think, are there any remaining vacancies after this if these are approved, Eleanor?
No, just the boards, the appeal boards.
Appeals boards, things like that.
Yeah, I think this is it.
So with that, I'll just
motion to approve.
Take a motion for
motion to approve.
Okay, Councilmember Horvath. Or I guess
I just raised my hand to make a motion. I'll second the motion.
Okay, Councilmember MD.
I was doing the same.
Okay. All right. Any public comment?
No public comment. No e-comment.
Great. Thanks everybody for doing that. It was worthwhile. I got to talk to a lot of people. Got a lot of input from Councilmember Grand in District 4. I was committed to putting somebody on the Planning Commission in District 4. Got a lot of applications from District 4. So it was great. It was great. Get that kind of enthusiasm. So I'll take a roll call vote. Councilmember Narenheim.
Aye.
Councilmember Lowenstein.
Aye.
Councilmember Horvath.
Aye.
Councilmember Grand.
Aye.
And Councilmember MD.
Aye.
Does my hair look like George Washington?
A little bit. Kind of.
That's what my wife says. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay, where are we? She'll be sorry she said that, I guess, I suppose. I don't know. Let me pull up the agenda. Sorry, you guys.
Q, mayor and council referrals to staff.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Narenheim, do we have any referrals to staff?
I have none. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowenson.
None, thank you.
Councilmember Horvath.
No, thank you.
Councilmember Grant.
No, thank you.
Councilmember MD.
No, thank you.
And Joe, I didn't really cover any, if you had any other city manager items you wanted to discuss with us.
No, the only thing is that under normal circumstances, we would have had you gather for the tree lighting. The tree is lit, drive by, see it. Don't go out there and gather with people not in your household though, but enjoy it as you drive by.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Yeah. Okay, so our next meeting will be December 8th, a week from tonight. So I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, can I interject for a second? I needed to make a report from closed session. I neglected to do that before. It's on F6, which is Christopher Ethel versus the city of Redondo Beach. And
R6, you mean? R6?
Yeah, R6 or F6.
F6.
It's case number 20STCV35026. And there was a unanimous vote to have the case dismissed with prejudice. And the city is paying no money to the plaintiff, and each side is bearing their own costs and attorney's fees. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn until December 8th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion by Councilmember MD, second by Councilmember Narenheim. Any objections? Okay, so ordered. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
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 See you next week and talk to
Good
staff
work.
about the various items we talked about.
Quick, done.
Well, good night.